It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott's here. Mary Jo Foley's here. Microsoft earnings are here. We'll talk about what it all means and how Intel's earnings mean something a little bit different. We also have some very exciting news. Birthday boy Paul Thurrott has a wonderful new gift. He's going to share an unboxing for you. That's all coming up next on Windows Weekly. Windows Weekly comes to you from Twit's LastPass Studios. Securing every access point in your company does not have to be a challenge. LastPass unifies access and authentication to make securing your employees simple and secure, even when they're working remotely. Check out lastpass.com/twit to learn more.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley, episode 696, recorded Wednesday, October 28th, 2020. Earnings Learnings. This episode of Windows Weekly is brought to you by Barracuda. One of Barracuda's premier customers is PetSmart. They used Barracuda and Microsoft's help to quickly secure their remote business during the pandemic. Check out Barracuda's latest recorded webinar to learn how at barracuda.com/PetSmart. And by Thinkst Canary. Detect attackers on your network while avoiding irritating false alarms. Get the alerts that matter for 10% off and a 60-day money-back guarantee. Go to canary.tools/twit and enter the code TWIT in the How Did You Hear About Us box. And by Eset. Eset protects businesses worldwide with internet security products and services backed by world-class research and tech support. Get an interactive demo right now at try.eset.com/twit and start your free trial today. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show where we cover the latest news from Microsoft. And it is not a snooze fest this week. Oh, there's a lot of news.
Well, it's like your typical Windows Weekly.
Like our usual show.
You can quietly rock your child to bed by it.
Not the normal relaxing. Actually, it hasn't been relaxing in a while.
No.
Paul Thurrott is on the left. He is, I should pan you a little left. I will. He is our guru from Thurrott.com, author of the Delphi 3 Super Bible and even more recent works like the Windows 10 Field Guide. Mary Jo Foley writes about Microsoft at ZDNet. All about Microsoft.com's the URL. And together we join in holy
I was going to say, that's what it sounded like to me. We gathered here today.
Earnings.
Present family.
It's earnings learnings time, kids. The day after the show last week, they did, wasn't that right? Or no, they did it Tuesday today.
No,
Yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah,
Usually
Tuesday
do
this week.
it after we
Yeah.
convene.
Right.
Now they did it right before.
Yeah, because you guys.
I love this. I wish it could always be on Tuesday.
Yes, because then we have time to think about it and talk about it before the show.
Yep.
Yeah. So, what have we learned? Top line, was it a good quarter for Microsoft?
Yes.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
It's the first quarter of their new fiscal year. So Q1 2021 ran from July to September, right?
Yep.
And earnings were good. Depending on whose consensus numbers you went with, they beat earnings, or some people were like, this was a terrible quarter. Other people were like, it was an amazing quarter, as usual, right? It depends on the earnings number.
And that's nutty because it's based on what the analysts thought was going to happen, not anything else.
Right. And some people look at different consensus numbers, right? And then they bench it against that. But anyway, $37 billion for the quarter. Pretty good. Not bad. Not so bad.
That's revenue or profit? That's revenue.
Revenue.
$37 billion. That's kind of amazing. Yeah.
Right.
Profit
All
was
their
$13.9 billion.
13 is good.
It is.
It's incredible.
Their three buckets were all up. Personal computing, intelligent cloud, productivity, and business processes all were growing in a positive direction.
Have you watched the shift that's going in there, by the way? Sorry to interject,
Yes,
but those three business units were neck and neck revenue-wise for a long time. It was about $11 billion each. And more personal computing, I think, because of the nature of the business, is the one that's probably going to go down. This is Windows, Surface, and Xbox, right? And the other two are cloud-based largely, and of course they're going up. And intelligent cloud, which is Azure, right, is now the number one business, $13 billion. Productivity and business processes, which is Microsoft 365, is number two, $12.3 billion. And then more personal computing is $11.8 billion.
Where does Windows lie in that bucket?
The third one.
The third one?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow, that's a big drop then Windows.
Well, it's actually up. It's just up single digit. I mean,
Azure's their big business.
Yeah,
but it's interesting that Microsoft 365 is such a big business for them too.
Oh yeah, but these are going to be even bigger going forward.
Yeah,
this is the future.
It is,
and Windows is slowly
and the present,
fading.
as it turns out. I mean, those two. I mean, Microsoft's cloud businesses combined is that was $25 billion.
Wow,
in revenues.
You mean commercial cloud, our favorite metric? Are you talking about?
I didn't say that, and I never will say that. Fake news, Mary Jo. Fake news.
What is commercial cloud? Is that
so? It's a made-up number by Microsoft where they combine Azure, Office 365, Dynamics 365, parts of LinkedIn, and basically any of their other big cloud properties. And it doesn't correspond to any way that they report. They just mush these things together so that they can give people this number.
It's like a buffet, and you just pick the stuff you want, and you ignore the stuff you don't.
But it is all cloudy, right?
It's all cloud. No non-cloud stuff is in that bucket, and that by itself was $15 billion.
By the way, what does that leave out? Xbox? What is Surface and Xbox?
Leaves out Surface, Xbox, all the on-premises products they sell.
Right? OneDrive Premium is left out, and
so like Windows Server, SQL Server, right? All the things that they sell on-prem are left out.
But really, it's kind of pointing to the future of Microsoft, which is this commercial cloud. That's their business. That's their business. Yeah. So I understand that bucket. It's a weird bucket, but I understand it.
Yeah.
As always, though, the issue with all this stuff, not just commercial cloud, is just the weird cherry picking of data. Like we get revenue increases, but not actual revenues for certain businesses. We get the number of seats in some and not in others. Like we know what enterprise mobility the install base is. We know what the install base is of Microsoft 365 consumer. But we don't get we don't get other things.
Is that to massage the market? Like
it's to highlight the biggest positives.
So that, but it's not for It's not for reporters or users. It's for analysts. It's for the stock market.
Yeah.
Yes.
We know better.
At some point, companies started doing this. It just became acceptable. It's not like some law passed where the way you report changed. It's almost like companies were kind of pushing the boundaries, and now we've arrived at this point where we don't have to tell you how many things we sold.
Right.
We know we're a publicly traded company, but we don't need to. We don't feel that level of transparency is appropriate.
And they're getting away
crazy.
with it. So
I have no idea how we arrived.
Everybody does it.
Would it be the SEC that would say to them, no, we need more detail? I mean,
I don't think they'll ever crack down.
No, they don't care.
No, because everyone does. Like you said, Apple stopped doing. Apple stopped releasing sometime in the past 2 years unit sales. That was a nice thing that they did for a long time.
Right.
I feel like that kind of thing should be required of a publicly held company. Just actual data. You should be able to reveal how well your business is really doing.
I don't know if you heard this at the very end of the analyst call yesterday, but one of the Wall Street analysts gets on and he goes, so I want to talk about something. Azure has finally surpassed Windows in terms of revenue. And I'm thinking, how does he know that? We don't know what either of those two numbers are.
Because he has his own little, because he's used, and that's the thing. We have to guess. And we all have our own little pet peeves, the things we care about, we look at, and we wonder. And so he has his own little internal metrics that he has determined that Azure is now a bigger business for Microsoft than Windows.
Right.
Microsoft has never said how much Azure makes.
No, he's like, Satya, could you explain what that means? And everybody just danced around it because I'm like, they're not going to answer that because they've never disclosed either number.
Like, I'd like to pontificate for a few minutes. Could you then discuss it? I guess so.
But I understand that's the number people kind of want to know. That's the
they do.
Sure.
They kind of want to know, is Windows taking a back seat to cloud?
Just hard numbers. Here's a hard number. How many Windows licenses did you sell to PC makers in the quarter?
Right.
They're never going to tell you
number.
that.
I know. No, they'll never say it.
Right.
No, and Azure they'll never tell us, because then all the reporters and analysts will want to put Azure against AWS, and Microsoft doesn't want them to do that.
Because
right?
that's a
How many
losing
Surface computers did you sell? How many Xbox consoles did you sell? You could make any. These are just obvious things that we should know.
So
and
what can we learn
never
from this? This is it's not is it Microsoft hiding facts or more?
Well, I mean, so it's like a lie of omission. I mean, is it a lie if you just don't say it?
It's not a lie. They're not saying anything.
Apparently. Everyone does it, like Mary Jo said. They are highlighting things that are the most positive.
Yeah.
And
when Apple does it, I don't.
It should be illegal, because that will drive the stock price using only part of the information someone should need to know how much the stock is worth.
Nobody cares about the potsers who are, the little guys like us who buy stock. And it's presumed that if you are an institutional buyer, that you know better. It's only the little people who know, and nobody cares about us. Like, oh God, I'm going to buy Microsoft. It looks like they're doing really well. Well, anyway, I think they're more concerned about the news stories than they are even about the stock price as much, right? Or maybe not.
Talking about basic accounting practices. And
I understand, but nobody's. Paul, give it up. Not non-GAAP is the way it is, Ben.
This company is going gangbusters. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Right. And when you listen to the analyst questions, which we're always frustrated because we can't ask them, they only can ask them, right? And they always focus on the commercial cloud, right? Always, right? They're like, what about long-term growth for the commercial cloud or commercial cloud gross margins? Like, nobody ever says, what about Surface? What about, how you doing with
nobody
Surface?
cares. It's not a big enough business.
You know what, though? Cares is such a strange word. Like, it just should be a legal requirement. It doesn't matter if X number of people care.
No, you know what I want? I want one of the Wall Street analysts to let me sneak on the call, and so when they call on them and they press the button, it's me.
Well, can't you just give them questions?
I have a question.
You just say, hey.
My question is about Focus Inbox. Sasha, why do you
see, that's exactly why they don't let you ask questions. That's exactly why.
It is. No, they don't want our kind of questions because they're like, no, this is for like Wall Street and for the investment community.
Are you trying to drive us to Google or?
No, Google's trying to drive you away too. So give it up, right? It's like no one wants you, Paul.
I just get frustrated when I see like headline stories saying like Dynamics is growing gangbusters, right? So Dynamics revenues are up 19%. On some base, we don't know, right? So
they don't even tell you 90% from what? They don't even say that?
Oh,
that's the thing. We can't even extrapolate this out. That's the problem.
No.
That's sad. Okay, so we got no information from this, so just accept it. This is not an informational. This is not meant for you.
I can tell you something. I'm never going to accept it. I'm going to complain about this every quarter for the rest of my life.
Oh, these are not the numbers you're looking for.
Literally, they are not the numbers I'm looking for.
But there was one number in the earnings that, like, as soon as I looked at the slides, I was like, wait a minute. That was the OEM Pro business number. For Windows, right? So I thought that number would be up because everybody's working from home. It's the pandemic, right? And you're like, of course, people are buying more PCs now, right? So the Windows number should be up. And the way Microsoft breaks it out is there's pro and there's non-pro. So non-pro is consumer and retail sales. Non-pro business was way up this quarter. It was like 30-something percent.
No, it's the opposite. The pro revenue is way up. No, the
pro revenues tanked. Tanked. I'll positive. That's why I was so stunned when I saw it. And I was like, wait, what?
I got that backwards then.
Yeah. So non-pro was up 31% and pro revenue was down 22%.
Wow. I had a complete rationale for why the opposite condition would be true. And now I'm kind of left at a loss here.
Yeah. So Amy Hood, the CFO, got asked about this a couple times during the call. Like, people were like, what's up with the Windows number? Like, what's going on there, right? And so there's some logical explanations for this and some that are kind of like, huh, right? So the logical explanation is a year ago quarter, which is what they're comparing it to, Windows 7 support was ending, right? So they were selling a lot of of Windows 10 PCs, and OEMs were pushing Windows 10 harder at that point. Then they also cited small and mid-sized business customers. So some of those people buy through retail. They don't buy through the pro channel. So there are some sales in that non-pro thing that are probably SMBs, small and mid-sized businesses. And then they just talked in general about a softening of commercial demand. So that's the number that's kind of alarming, because all along they've been saying, everybody realizes now how important and mission critical the PC is, and businesses should be out there giving their employees the latest and greatest PCs to take home and use remotely and all. That's what's not.
But hasn't that activity already happened? That's not like a permanent condition. I mean, I would just say, look, at some point, this is why I put in a note about the Intel stuff. At some point, that boom because of COVID has to go away. Like this, it's not like, hey, the PC's back. The PC market is always going to decline long term. Like that's the nature of that business. It just is. So this year has been great for the PC. It's been terrible for everyone using a PC because pandemic. But so okay, that's interesting. And
so I had a chance to ask the GM of Investor Relations, Mike Spencer, about this. I'm like, so what's up with that number? And he said, enterprises are prioritizing where they're spending on hardware, and it's not on PCs, it's on servers. And I was like, that's a weird thing to say too, because I think enterprises out there buying servers?
Too. In fact, that's what Intel's results showed, was that data center spending, which had skyrocketed in the previous two sequential quarters, had fallen dramatically. Well, had not grown as fast, I should say, in the most recent quarter. And you would think Microsoft's numbers would kind of bear that out, but maybe they trail by a quarter because of the nature of the businesses or whatever.
Maybe. Yeah, he also said, we still expect there are a number of 5-year and older PCs being used by companies that at some point they will refresh, but it's just not happening right now. And even on the call, their outlook for next quarter is, pro numbers are going to be bad again. So
I saw that. And I attributed that to that effect with the pandemic where, obviously it explodes at the beginning and then it kind of trails off.
Yeah. That number just jumped out at me. I was like, wait, what?
I completely screwed that up. I had it backwards, essentially. I'm not going to go into the details of where my head was at, but I mean, looking at it now, I guess, obviously there's been a problem with getting PCs at retail. That's been an issue since the summer or earlier, probably. Yep. Back to school has happened. Yep. And there's probably a little bit of backlog. Surface did pretty well, and part of Microsoft, interestingly, attributed that to the way they launched products last year versus this year, not to pandemic spending, but still, I mean, they were up.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting how.
Now I got that backwards.
How does I want to see how Windows PCs do in the holiday quarter. Like, is holiday going to be really robust because people need PCs and they haven't been able to get them, and they want to give their kids better PCs for learning from home, or giving parents or whoever better PCs to use for work and learning at home.
Just making do with what they have.
I do too. Yeah, I do too. Yep. So they weren't predicting. They talked about how many great new PCs are going to be out there for holiday, but I'm curious how the holiday sales will be.
Finding the right mix is always the issue, and it's not just PCs. You see that in the smartphone business as well. We're seeing a lot of people buying lower end phones this year. I'm sure people were trying to do that with PCs as well.
This is not the overall economic climate that Microsoft is not immune from.
Right.
Yep.
And even that's hard to suss out. I mean, we know unemployment skyrocketed. It's fallen a little bit, but it's skyrocketed. And we know, some predicting 60% of small businesses will fold over the next year. I mean, we know hard times are upon us.
Microsoft predicted that internally back in March.
That's right.
I don't remember the exact number, but it was really high. Some huge percentage of small businesses were going to fail, and so they were going to put their efforts elsewhere, focus on the businesses that would survive. With Microsoft 365.
So in a way, having a great quarter now is pretty amazing.
Yeah, but this is the ongoing strength of they have a diverse set of businesses and a lot of it's cloud-based. And that stuff is, that's just evergreen. It's subscription-based. It's going to, stick around.
Yep.
It seems like big tech, big iron is thriving, but desktop tech probably will suffer.
Yeah.
I wonder, it's going to be interesting. There's been huge demand for the gaming platforms, PS5 and Xbox, but I wonder, it's one thing to buy that if you're getting a paycheck, but it's another thing if
they're not inexpensive.
Yeah. It's a very much of a discretionary purchase.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, we are pretty famous in this country for going into debt for stuff. So I could picture it happening just because people feel like they need, they've had a tough year and kids are probably going to be stuck home for the foreseeable future.
Need something to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Give them a little boost and it will help get them through it.
Actually,
the gaming business this quarter was really great.
Yeah.
That did great.
Which is ridiculous, by the way, because if you look at the Xbox business historically, the quarter right before console launch is a disaster. Of course it is. No one's buying the old thing, right? But of course, all the money that Microsoft is taking in is from services. And actually, I just mentioned how Microsoft has a diverse business overall. If you look at Xbox is a lot more diverse than it used to be. There's a lot of online service stuff and subscriptions going on there. And that's smart for that business too, because that's what's sustainable. Like this, every couple of years, release a new hardware and we get a little boost is not the way of the future.
Yep. Yeah. On the chart,
PC thing.
Xbox content and services were up 30% for the quarter. That's huge, right?
It is. No, it's incredible. It really is incredible.
I know. Because I at first when I saw it, I'm like, yeah, but last quarter, your fourth quarter, you were up 65%. And the person I said that to said, yeah, but this is before we're launching the consoles and we're up 30%. Nice.
Well, that may bode well for console purchases because it may be people saying, I'm not going to buy the new one. I'm just going to get some games for the old one or something. I don't know. I'm
not trying to prep the audience for the eventual fail of this line of consoles. I think it's going to do great.
Oh, no, it'll do great in the long run.
I did too.
Yeah.
No.
But Xbox is changing dramatically, right? And so it's a weird time where Microsoft has some very high-profile online services that are subscription-based and bring in anywhere from $10 to $15 a month or whatever that in some ways compete with those consoles, because a lot of those games can be played remotely over an Android device or can be played on a Windows PC.
Right. But that's smart. That's smart. They're saying maybe people aren't going to want to spend $400 or $500 on a new console, but we can get them to spend $35 a month on a Game Pass plus console, and we can get them to spend $15 a month on Game Pass on their for their Android. I mean, I think that's smart.
Honestly,
this is what they've been.
This thing is the smartest of all that you just mentioned. It's you can't put down $400 on a console, maybe, but you could pay for it over time,
right?
And that's the most American thing of all, right there.
Right there.
It really is. Like I'm confident about I can't afford it, but I'm confident about the future. Okay.
It's really interesting to watch a company like Microsoft that is very savvy, I think. Yeah. You could argue of all the big tech companies, the most savvy on how to position themselves well in an uncertain future. They've absolutely done that. Much better than Google, Facebook. Well, Facebook has kind of a lock because they're free. Smart move. But Apple, I mean, I think Microsoft's really positioned themselves brilliantly, and this quarter shows it. Yep. We're not going to grow in this area, but we're going to grow in this area because we were clever.
That's why you want your business to be diversified. That's why Apple is racing to get a services business going.
Right.
That's why Google is racing not to be 100% dependent on advertising. These businesses all realize that this one big thing that makes all their money is also the one big problem they have, because if that thing goes away, they're dead.
And to some degree, they're failing compared to Microsoft, which is really doing it right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, Google and Apple both are moving in the right direction, but Microsoft started earlier, and they just the nature of their business is just it's worked out really well for them.
Yeah, Apple's now what 12 or 13 billion in services. So they're getting there.
Well, put that in perspective. I mean, those two businesses that I just mentioned. Yeah. Well, I mean, the two big business units that are essentially services. Now, they're services that largely target commercial. $25 billion in one quarter.
Wow. Wow.
You know, most of that money is literally from services. And then even a little bit of more personal computing, a very little bit, but from Xbox subscription services, et cetera, is also part of that. So it's, you know, that's the services business right there. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we didn't talk about the other surprise during the earnings call, which was they released a new number for Teams. I was kind of surprised they did that yesterday.
Right.
A huge number, isn't it?
115 million daily active users.
Take that,
up from
Slack.
70. I know, up from 75 million at the end of April. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's been kind of a weird. They had been releasing new numbers. It was like November, February, March, April, and then we didn't hear anything.
Stopped. Right.
Yeah, and
I thought they were waiting for 100 million. That was my guess. I'm like, they're waiting till they hit 100 million, right?
Right. Well, it seems like like Ignite would have been the time. They must have been at 100 by Ignite. I don't know why they didn't say.
They didn't want to get Stuart Butterfield to get his panties in a knot.
Exactly. Again.
Right.
He's the founder of Slack, for those who are wondering. If you're not following our playbook.
Bee in his bonnet about Microsoft.
Just a tiny bee in his bonnet. What are Slack's numbers? Like 70 million, something like that?
No, Slack, the last time I think Slack shared a daily active user number was in October 2019, and it was 12 million. I don't think they've given a newer number than that.
Teams, you know, it's funny, it was slow to start.
Yeah.
But they've kicked into gear. COVID's been very good for them.
It has.
Yeah, but you know, that's true. But again, like I said, if you go back and look at November, February, this thing was like 25, 40, like it was already going gangbusters. And I think and of course the pandemic, I mean, obviously.
Well, and they were giving it away at that point too.
It's part of Microsoft 365.
Right.
I mean, you have to pay for that, but I mean, it's part of the value of that subscription.
Right.
It's something. Yeah, it's something a lot of businesses can get for free since already, you know, paying for Microsoft 365. But I think the real success of it was the kind of Outlook model, which obviously there are cons to as well, but they turned it into a platform. And and you know, there was Microsoft. It was like, hey, is there anything you'd like Teams to do? And they got 100 different responses, and they were like, yeah, we'll do all of them.
Yeah.
Like they literally, okay, we'll do it all. You know, there is almost nothing they've said no to.
I know. It's not a group chat platform anymore. Like that's how we used to describe it. But now I'm like, you can't call it that anymore because it's also an app dev platform. It's like everything pretty much. Calling platform, video conferencing, this, that.
It's hard to come up with a concise way of describing it. I guess you just call it like a collaboration platform or something. But
that's what I call it.
But then you get into weird converstions like, well, isn't that what SharePoint is? Isn't that sort of what Outlook was, you know, Exchange was back in the day? And the answer is yeah.
I have to say, though, part of this is because of Google just collapsing. I mean, we're a Google house. We use, it used to be G Suite. Now it's Workspace. Oh, good. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for renaming that.
But hold on a second. The icons are really nice.
Oh, jeez.
I even noticed the difference. There was more colors. I noticed that.
And then they keep changing the messaging.
Yeah.
I mean, really, they
and the
fumbled.
naming of the products.
They fumbled this. They've completely fumbled it.
There's a guy from Microsoft in charge of that part of Google now. Yeah. Actually, by the way, that sentence I just said could be applied to 18 different parts of Google. There is a guy from Microsoft in charge of many parts of Google.
Until they hire Satya Nadella, I'm not too concerned.
Well, hold your breath because it's going to happen soon. But
you mean Javier Soltero?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. In this case,
yeah.
So he's going to get this right. You know, and yes, I mean, Google is infamous for, you know, not having a good vision and having different products and blah, 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 whatever. But I think they are going to get it right.
But what Microsoft has done so much better is it looks like a unified platform. Yeah. And it's a simple buy for a business. They go, yeah, Microsoft will just get it all. Boom. Done.
I feel like the one confusing piece, though, is Skype is still around.
Yeah.
But if you're a business, you just ignore Skype. You don't, I mean, what does it even have?
Yeah, because they replaced the Skype for Business with Teams. Like, that
Teams.
happened.
Yeah.
I know, but like how they're adding that Meet Now button to Windows 10, that's for Skype, right? It's not for Teams.
Well, they got to fix that's dumb.
Well, yeah.
I guess Skype's free to everybody, so it's a more universal platform.
Yeah.
I think that transition is going to happen.
You do.
Even though I don't think Teams as a brand makes as much sense as Skype, which obviously doesn't mean anything other than being a kind of verb that people use.
Right.
When you think about like just conceptualizing it, you go through this thing in your head. I want to write a document, so I use Word. You make that leap in your brain. I want to talk to a friend of mine or my mother, so I use Teams. I don't. It doesn't seem like the natural answer to that question, but
I think what they're waiting for is the desktop version of the Teams for consumer features, because right now Teams for consumer features are only on iOS and Android, right? And it's going to come to desktop too. But once that does come to desktop, then I'm curious if they're going to keep Skype.
Yeah. Yep. I just don't see how it doesn't go away. Remember when Windows 2000 came out and it was powered by NT technology? Yeah. Aside from the fact that everyone freaked out by that redundant phrasing. I see that as Teams powered by Skype technology almost. It could be the little get people over the hump kind of thing.
Don't they have that powered by stuff happening in lists? Like they have Microsoft Lists, powered by To Do and Planner. I'm like, who even says that? Like no one. Like what does that mean?
It's really powered by a SharePoint, but we're trying to pretend it has nothing to do with that.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm just curious what happens to Skype. I'm very curious because they keep adding new features to Skype. They keep enhancing, quote unquote, it.
Skype or Teams?
Yeah. Skype. They're still adding features to Skype. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, they won't let Skype go, will they? Yeah.
No.
Just let it go, please, Microsoft.
It's no groove. That's all I'm saying.
It's no groove.
It's no groove,
they
guys.
Let groove go. Bye-bye, groove. Hello, Skype. I can, am I wrong? Did not they offer Teams as a free thing for anybody? Like anybody could use Teams.
There is a free version still, right?
There's a free. Yeah.
Yeah. So they could just say, Skype is now Teams. It killed me.
They will. I think they will.
Yeah.
It's just inevitable. It'll be a sad day.
Well, it'll be a problem for me. I mean,
I know for broadcasting, right?
All we use is Skype. Yeah.
Well, I mean, for this to happen, I assume Teams would do everything that Skype does, and that there would be an equivalent product in the Teams family that would work for you. I would hope.
Yeah.
You would think, yeah. I freaked out yesterday when the earnings call started because it was in Teams for the first time.
I know. Mary Jo contacted me. She's like, what do I do? Just let it rave over you. It's going to be fine.
Do not want. But it worked. Although Microsoft's investor site went down at the beginning of the earnings period yesterday, which wasn't great, but yeah.
This isn't probably super interesting to most people, but the reason Mary Jo was freaked about this, there's a real reason, is the last two big shows that Microsoft had, Build 2020 and Ignite 2020, were done for us over Teams. And what that means is they used, it's unfortunately, this part of it's very convoluted, like connecting to Microsoft to watch them do a demo or an early video or something is easy enough, assuming you can get by all the login issues, because all of us already have Teams accounts and you have to use a different account for this, whatever. If you can get past that, the convolutedness has to do with you can find the book of news in this location and no one could reach it. Like it was like just really hard. Because I think, honestly, I don't mean to keep dumping on SharePoint, but I think it's like a SharePoint backend in the way it exposes its way in through, whatever. So I think that's why you were worried about it. But really all you were doing was connecting to a conference call. So it was no big deal. It was just like a presentation or whatever.
You're so right. Because I I had a lot of problems with the.
Yeah, it's like PTSD because every time there's an event, we're going back and forth. Like, can you get this document? Can you get this?
I know. Can you get it? No. Can you? No. And then I'd email them, and I'm like, so I can't get any of your documents.
Yeah.
That's hysterical.
Then I went on a Teams rant through email.
Nice. It's not Mary Jo hates Teams. It's we have unfortunately had a bad experience a couple times this year trying to get through to Microsoft through Teams. That's all. It's just kind of a.
But you guys use Teams, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As seldom as I have to.
We use it. I mean, for work, it's fine. Like honestly, for the stuff we use it for, meetings and chats and all that, and it's great. And like I said, I recorded those videos a month ago, whatever that was. Excellent.
Yeah, great. See, we're like Slack and Google and Workspace, and it's just not. It's kind of a hodgepodge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the two approaches, right? I mean,
right.
And this was when Microsoft got rid of Groove. Someone, or some event like that. Someone on Twitter said, "That's why this person, always choose the best. Like you choose this company that only does this one thing. So like I'm going to go to Spotify for music because that's their entire business.
So they can't kill it. Yeah.
And I'm going to go to Dropbox for storage because that's their only business and they really care. And that makes sense on one level.
There's
but
no
what Leo
integration.
just described is the dark side of it, which is like, okay, now we have 17 different services from 17 different companies, all with their own billing and their own blah, 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 whatever. And the other approach is you could just be like, well, I'm going to go all Google or all Microsoft. And you pay a lot less. And maybe some stuff doesn't work as well, but hopefully the stuff that's important does. But maybe you're not always best of breed. And what if it's Google? So what if they kill this one service that you rely on? Or there's no right answer. That's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, unless you're Microsoft. Microsoft says there is one right answer, and that right answer is Microsoft 365. Ching.
Yeah.
It's actually not a bad answer.
It's not. That's true. It's really evolved into, well, Teams in particular is arguably best of breed, I would say, in many ways for many of the things that it does.
Yeah.
And I'm not being paid to say that, folks. I'm just stating fact. Anybody?
I'm just trying not to rant for a second week in a row.
Let's take a break so Mary Jo can steel her nerve once again not to rant, and then we actually there's an interesting question about Intel results compared to Microsoft's results. We'll get to that in just a little bit. Our show today brought to you by Barracuda. I always want to play the guitar lick from Hearts. Dun, 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 dun. Bing. Barracuda is the provider. They really ought to buy that and make it their jingle. Is the provider of cloud-enabled enterprise-grade security solutions. It's such a well-known name in business. I think everybody knows Barracuda to protect your email, your networks, your data, your applications. I want to talk to you today about protecting your email with Barracuda Total Email Protection. As you might imagine, the bad guys have leapt on the coronavirus pandemic. What an opportunity for us. Spear phishing attacks have jumped 667% using coronavirus-related material since the thing began. And if for your business, that's a big deal because you've got employees now suddenly working from home. 91% of all cyber attacks come in through email. They're sitting at home on their networks, on their devices, opening emails, opening those spear phishing attacks. I know they're smart, but all it takes is one slip and bam, you're done. Because then they log into the company network VPN and you're done. You need Barracuda Total Email Protection. And actually in a bit, I'm going to show you how you can just at least, and it might be a little scary for you, but you can go through your Office 365 email account for all of your employees, risk-free, no cost, just to see what's lurking in there. And it's going to be, I'm sure it's going to be an eye-opener. Barracuda Total Email Protection includes all-in-one email security. For a lot of businesses, backup of email and archiving of email is mission critical because you have a regulatory requirement, compliance requirement to do that. So they'll help you with that. There's AI-based protection. You want it to be AI-based. You want it to be nimble and fast and learning all the time because the bad guys aren't sitting still. They're always adapting. So you want this AI-based protection from spear phishing, account takeover, business email compromise. And you also want, and Barracuda gives you this, a way to respond. You know, the faster you respond to an attack, the less damage it's going to do. So you get an automated incident response that gives you the options you need to quickly and efficiently address attacks. So to limit the damage they do. Plus, because your employees, whether they're in the office or working from home, are the first line of defense, you'll get security awareness training to educate them so that they know what to do and what not to do. It all comes with total email protection from Barracuda. You want to try it free? Get a secure, free email threat scan of your Office 365 account. No risk, no pressure. Barracuda.com/Windows. Barracuda.com/Windows. One of the companies that has used this is PetSmart. They're our source for cat towers. They used Barracuda, and Microsoft is involved in this, to quickly secure their remote business during the pandemic. If you're curious, there is a great recorded webinar. Barracuda's put it online. Securing Azure with PetSmart, Microsoft, and Barracuda. The layered approach. Visit barracuda.com/PetSmart. You can watch it now, no charge. You'll get expert guidance in overcoming those security challenges when migrating your IT infrastructure to a public cloud environment. Securing Azure with PetSmart, Microsoft, and Barracuda. It's at barracuda.com/PetSmart. Barracuda.com/PetSmart. And don't forget to get that free threat scan with Barracuda Total Email Protection at barracuda.com/Windows. And the webinar, barracuda.com/PetSmart. 2 URLs. I know you can handle it. Barracuda is your journey secured. Barracuda.com/PetSmart for securing Azure with PetSmart, Microsoft, and Barracuda. Barracuda.com/Windows to get that free, secure email threat scan. You should really do that. You should do both. So what have we learned? Because Intel also put out quarterly results.
Yeah. So if you think about Intel and Microsoft kind of parallel each other, right? They were the Wintel partners for decades. They controlled personal computing together, Intel on the hardware side, Microsoft on the software side. And then the world changed. In Microsoft, we just talked about it. They made this incredible transition to a services business, 25 billion-ish in services revenues in this single quarter. Incredible. Intel, not so much. Intel has struggled. I mean, they've kind of given up the title, to Qualcomm and to ARM as a platform. Personal computing and on the data center these are the two big businesses they have, and these are the two big businesses they're probably going to lose. And it's hard to see an outcome for them that's positive, even though they're still obviously a pretty big company. So they announced their revenues for the quarter earlier this week or last week, $18.3 billion in revenues, $4.3 billion in net income. Both of those numbers were down year over year. Now, this is after the previous two sequential quarters were huge for them because of COVID-19. But now they're seeing that drop off. So Microsoft, we saw some things that, like Mary Jo was confused about the Windows PC stuff. I was even more confused because I had it backwards, but not expecting to see that kind of thing happening now.
Yeah.
But these guys I think they're on the leading edge of the problem, which is they're going to lose the data center. Sorry, Boston accent. I don't know where that came from. Their data center business actually fell after 2 quarters of massive growth. And their PC business actually grew a little bit, but the problem is the PCs, and by a little bit, I mean like 1%. But the problem is the PCs that people were buying this past quarter for them were education and consumer PCs, which have lower price tags, use cheaper chips. They don't get as much money. So this company's in trouble, and I say that they just made $18.3 billion in revenues, but I feel like their entire market is literally going to be stripped away from them, and that there's almost nothing they can do. And there's all this stuff going on. AMD is now 20% of the PC business. Suddenly, ARM is going to steal away the data center business. NVIDIA is purchasing ARM. It is now a bigger company than Intel by market valuation. I mean, what they can't make a transition from 10 to 7 effectively, let alone other companies are now on 5 nanometer. I don't know what's happening here. This company used to be, they're like the Sears of the computer space.
NVIDIA, didn't they just also buy another chip company?
AMD bought.
Oh, AMD did.
AMD bought
Xilinx,
Xilinx, which makes field programmable, blah, blah, blah.
But that was $35 billion. That actually cost more than ARM did. That was that was a big deal.
That's a huge business, though. Like everybody who's doing data centers is doing it with FPGAs, right?
Right. So I gotta say, Intel just doesn't. I wouldn't.
There's something wrong here.
There's something wrong.
Yeah. It doesn't look good.
Their competitors are marching on them.
I just don't, Microsoft, because of they make software, right? Basically, right? So they made good decisions. They were able to make this transition. I will always say, Office 365, now Microsoft 365 is like the poster child of this transition to the cloud. Like they just did such a great job with it. Intel has not made this transition. The world went mobile. They lost mobile. They gave up their 5G business. They're going to lose the data center business. There's no doubt about it. So I don't know.
It's wild.
I know.
It's sad in a way.
It is sad.
I don't know if it's, it's like a lot of things. It's probably partially not their fault and partially self-inflicted.
Yeah, it's just when you see that, though, you wonder, like, what happened?
Yeah. Can you point to a place in time? I think there were a lot of missteps. They lost some ground with the move to 64-bit computing. Remember when they were pushing their Itanium baloney? The Itanium chip was like the size of a PC. It should have been a warning sign. This is probably not going to fit in a laptop, But it wasn't, it's not just, to me, the big thing is mobile. They pushed performance over energy efficiency and mobility too hard and for too long. And I think they kind of missed where the market was going. And they just blew it. Their chipsets were never, remember, there was a brief period of time, 2009 or whatever time frame, Apple might have put a Celeron or an Atom or whatever it was in the iPad. Might have.
Had there been anything
they looked
mobile.
At it.
It wasn't good enough.
They're like, we're not this thing would have to have a fan. I'm not saying that was the point in time where it changed, but I mean, that was one of those things.
Yeah.
It is often said that they are making so much money in this kind of general desktop processor platform that they just couldn't see their way to innovating. That's the innovator's dilemma,
isn't it? I mean, how could we're making money hand over fist. You want us to do something else?
Yeah.
It's like, that was Microsoft, right?
Well,
that was the exact thing with Microsoft.
And that's why it's so impressive what Microsoft did.
Yeah. Exactly.
That cannibalized their business.
Microsoft, remember when they brought Office to the iPad, people were like, what are you doing? Right? Like, what is happening? But they saw that that's where they had to go. And they made the right call, even though at the time everybody thought they were being crazy, right? Because
even though we'll never forgive them.
Keep it away from Apple, because then you'll hurt them and you'll help Windows. Then somebody
that was the first major thing under Satya Nadella, right? I believe that occurred. And
Ballmer actually set it up to happen, but Satya
but just from a time frame perspective, that was and Ballmer set in motion all of this stuff. I mean, all of this transition to the cloud. So, that was just Microsoft leadership seeing that, look, this is the future. We can spit at the tidal wave if you want, but it's happening. So why don't we just ride it instead? It's pragmatic.
What do you think of Intel and that Evo Ultrabook platform? Do they have any chance of doing anything with that or no?
Yeah, I think it's awesome. Like their new 11th gen stuff is awesome. The Evo stuff is awesome. Like the idea that you have what used to require like a dedicated GPU, but on an integrated chipset is obvious and brilliant. I mean, I think it's great. Honestly, that's the kicker, because AMD in the past year has come up with those 4000 series chips, which are amazing for PCs, but Intel's, we call them 11th gen series, excellent. They're just excellent. I mean, they really are excellent. I mean, I'm kind of digging their grave while I'm describing how great they are. The problem is that the potential market for that is a couple $100 million. The potential market for these ARM series chips just on mobile is a couple billion. We're talking in a year.
Yeah.
So it's not quite exponential, but it's when you add in data center and all the other places where ARM shows up, it kind of is exponentially bigger. And that's the thing they're missing. So they have this great thing for a very specific use case. It's great. So for people like me who care about the PC, great. But we also have to acknowledge that this is not the primary personal computing platform for anybody anymore.
Ben Thompson, a couple of years ago, I just looked it up, had a great article about this called Intel. This was 2 years ago, and we're seeing it play out. Intel and the danger of integration. Intel threw every penny it had into the x86 platform and its integration with Windows. And he says they were hemmed in by that approach. The first major miss was mobile, what we were talking about. Instead of simply manufacturing ARM chips for the iPhone, the company presumed it could win by leveraging its manufacturing to create a more efficient x86 chip, which it didn't.
I mean, let's describe what's happened since then. Intel admitted, not this quarter, but the last quarter, that they were open to using other companies' fabs because they can't create 7-nanometer chips at scale.
They can't do it.
So the other thing is, you go back even further than that. We just talked about this iPad Office thing. Satya Nadella / Windows, whatever, basically said, Windows doesn't matter anymore. We're going to go where our customers are.
Yep.
And now you get Intel saying, hello? Oops. We only make the thing for Windows. What's going on?
Yeah. And so Intel just doubled down on this, we design and manufacture at scale. And it turned out to be a dead end for them. And Microsoft smartly pivoted.
Here's what Intel's good at. They're good at going up and out. And so Intel could do something, I think it was the 8th gen chips where they're like, we're going to go from dual core to quad core across the board, And everyone's like, oh my God, extra performance for free. It doesn't impact battery life. Awesome. They're really good at that. But what they've really been bad at is just general mobility issues. You can go back to the original the original tablet PC. One of the things that really screwed that platform over from the beginning was Intel's chipsets. They were terrible. And I don't remember what they were exactly. I think it was Pentium M and, whatever. Like these things got like 2 to 3 hours of battery life at most. They were thick. They had fans. They were terrible. That's when, was it Transmedia? What was the name of that company that Linus Torvalds worked for that was trying to do the installation stuff?
Transmeta.
Which is Transmeta, thank you. As a counter to that, and of course the performance was terrible for that, and so whatever, but you could go forward, to look at every major, I don't know, version of Windows or whatever you want, however you want to measure it, and Intel will always be there screwing up mobility. They have just Atom, Celeron, the Pentium Gold baloney that's in Service Go.
All x86, all building on their process. So he says, absent a crisis, it's almost impossible to avoid it. That's what makes disruption so devastating. Managers are paid to leverage their advantages, not destroy them, to increase margins, not to obliterate them. Culture, more broadly, is an organization's greatest asset right up until it becomes a curse.
Until it isn't, yeah, exactly.
Until it isn't. I mean, it's so great to see that. This is 2 years ago. Because that's exactly what Microsoft somehow managed to avoid. And I think it's Satya Nadella cracking the whip.
Maybe we're giving Microsoft a little too much credit because Microsoft more broadly, and I would say Xbox as a specific example of this, had to suffer greatly before they saw the error of their ways and then changed, right? Microsoft's case, broadly, it was antitrust, first in the United States and then in Europe, and then the rise of all these other companies, Apple, Google, Amazon, Facebook, et cetera. And then, with Xbox specifically, I mean, they were doing a traditional kind of console release, and then they finally got beat so bad this last gen. They said, okay, we're either going to drop this or we're going to do something completely different. And the thing that they've done that's completely different hasn't taken over the market. I don't mean to suggest they're number one or anything, but I've said this many times, like as a gamer, it is the most gamer-friendly ecosystem that there is, period. And the Xbox, platform or whatever ecosystem is amazing. Never would have happened. If Xbox 360 beat PlayStation 3, we would never have the Xbox we have today. Never. You almost need to get kicked, really badly to see the error of your ways. But Microsoft made the transition. That's the thing. They did it.
And interestingly, both running on AMD Zen processors, not
Right.
Intel.
Yeah, right. And where's your Wintel now?
Yeah.
You know?
It's easy to see in hindsight. So
Yeah, of course. Yes.
We're
No
Monday
one's
morning
but
quarterbacking.
to be clear, I didn't foresee any of this. I didn't. I just look at it as an observer, and I think this is really interesting. But I do look at Intel, and I think, man, they're in trouble, and I don't see an out. I don't see what they could do to fix it. Maybe I would have said that about Microsoft. I don't know. I'll think about that. I might have.
I've been saying lately that the DOJ prosecution in the 90s was the best thing that ever happened to Microsoft.
Yes, right. But it's, it's like sending your kid to boarding school or something.
Yeah, it's painful.
It's not going to be good.
Yeah.
Or you're going off into the military or something. You're going to suffer. You're just going to suffer.
They suffered, but it was Bill Gates suffering.
You're going to be you'll be better on the
Bill
other side
Gates
of it.
died for our sins.
Let's
wow.
get that
He didn't die, but he suffered.
Not saying I am Jesus, but and just saying.
Wow.
No, but I think that's true. I mean, and the reason it's lately been coming up, it's of course because now Google's under the microscope of the DOJ, and I'm just pointing out that while these are painful processes for everybody, not just the company, but everybody, the customers too, that sometimes it's a good thing. Forcing a company to be a little less monopolistic and a little more nimble is not a bad thing.
Right. Companies will overcome this.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Whatever Google is forced to do, or Apple or Amazon or whatever, we're going to find out a lot about these companies in the way that they react and in the way that they thrive or don't in the face of whatever adversity occurs. And I can't wait for them all to face adversity.
And
but whatever happens.
What don't kill you makes you stronger, as long as, it doesn't kill you.
In this case, maybe makes it better.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think really what Ben Thompson is saying is they just got their lunch at by these fabless foundries like ARM and these foundry-only companies like TSMC, both of whom could just rev it up without a...
Are you suggesting that it's easier to manufacture or cheaper to manufacture in Asia than it is in Texas?
Well, that could also be part of it, yeah.
Or Arizona or California.
How much did those fabs... I mean, I remember when they were $1 billion, then they became $10 billion fabs.
Sure.
And you spend $10 billion on a factory, you're not going to change your process lickety split. You're going to try to get the money out of that thing.
At some point, Intel, if they fall hard enough, they'll be basically a real estate holding company, and their biggest assets are going to be like these.
Anybody need a chip? I've got them
giant
cheap.
warehouses. Yeah,
I can make them really cheap.
What can I do to get you into this chip fab today?
They're 10 nanometer, but they're cheap.
Yeah, it's basically the equivalent of a Commodore 64, but
it's mind-blowing when I look at the A14 chip that Apple is putting into their new iPad and the new iPhones.
Right.
The number of transistors a 5 nanometer processor can put on a chip is mind-boggling. 11.8 billion transistors. These new phones are 6-core with 4 graphics cores.
Remember you used to seat the chip using little feet?
I remember you press it and it would work its way out.
Like a chip extractor.
Pound it down like a whack-a-mole.
Yeah. Now it's like the size of like a hair or something. It's like a crazy
12 billion transistors and something the size of your fingernail. Your pinky fingernail.
Yep.
It's incredible. So, anywho.
Version of what we just said is Intel is screwed.
We live in interesting times.
You're looking for a summary.
Hey, look, Polaroid's selling cameras again. It's possible. You could have a retro thing,
Maybe Microsoft buys Intel.
Gross.
I'm not even kidding.
Why would they want it?
Because they want to make chips, right? They need fabs. They could just say, we're going to make our own chips in your fabs.
Maybe. Not a bad idea.
I'm just throwing that out there as a crazy, nutty rumor that you never know.
Is it better to own the fabs or to rent them?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know.
Problem. This is, Microsoft already bought one old school technology program and sold off all of their facilities, and that was Nokia.
Right.
And those guys, that didn't really work out so well. And unfortunately, Intel is cruising into that exact position where what used to be their greatest asset, this incredible series of fabs that they have all over the world, is now the thing that's weighing down on them.
It's their boat anchor, yeah.
Yeah.
So once Stephen Elop joins Intel, you know that something is about to happen.
I'm packing my bags. I'm ready to go.
A giant forest will appear outside of their office, and they'll bring it in. And Stephen Elop will come out of its rear quarter. Like strewed out of the back.
Yeah, actually, though, it's interesting because we'll see. Because maybe, Apple, which right now is having, they're not building the fab. They're just designing it and they're letting TSMC build them. But that's a lot of reliance on a third party. Apple didn't like that either.
Yep.
They're having trouble with Foxconn right now.
Yep.
And, so there's no magic.
They're going to go back. Steve Jobs had a vision. You put the fab on the ocean, you pull the sand in, and you extrude
just like
chips on the other
Henry
side.
Ford's Rouge River plant.
Silicon, right? Or silicone?
Yeah.
Silicon.
Yeah. Silicone is something else entirely.
Yeah, it's something. It's also very useful, but different use.
Different usage, though. Different use case.
Yeah.
Also a growth market.
Are they announcing ARM-based Macs in like a few weeks?
Yeah,
Is that
probably.
happening?
Well, no one knows, but probably. And by the way, they do not call them ARM-based. They're Apple Silicon, but there's a good reason. They don't want people to think they're like ARM chips. They're not Qualcomm ARM chips.
Anything. These are specialized chips. Well, by the way, they kind of are.
Doing that too, right?
Well, it's the ARM instruction set. They're ARM instruction set, but that's, that's like a small part of what's going on here. Apple's. We don't know when the Apple event is, but the rumor is November 17th. And I think that's credible. You can't have it any later because of Thanksgiving.
Right.
And with the election on November 3rd, they like to do it on Tuesday. November 3rd's a bad day.
Yeah.
And November 10th, they said, well, then you'd have to send the invitations out November 3rd. And given the Postal Service, they'd never get there. So they're going to do it November 17th, I think, is the gossip.
I can't wait. I'm really curious to see where these things land.
Well, you know what? Let me take the arrows because I'm going to be the first guy over that hill. I can't wait to buy a Mac based on
that.
Apple's
I'm very
chips.
curious about. We'll see.
We'll see.
We have a lot of bad experience on the Windows side to guide our opinions.
Well, that's why they don't want to say ARM. They don't want you to think it's like Windows on ARM. It's not.
Yeah.
Right.
There is a big Windows question, though, is what is the emulation scenario going to look like? I don't think they're going to be able to do boot camp where you just boot into Windows.
They've already said they're not doing
it.
They're not doing
You're going to have to use an emulator, Parallels or VMware, yeah.
That's right.
And that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, but you know what? It's 2020. I don't think that type of stuff is as important anymore.
Nope. I agree with
you. There was a real reason for boot camp back in 2000 or whatever, 2001. Today, web apps, they can run iPad apps now. I mean, I don't think they need it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's funny. In the early days of the Mac, Apple had to do everything to be compatible. There was a dominant force in the world, and you were, you're just like a
God. I love those days.
Flea.
God, I held it over their heads like an X.
So Microsoft, it's really interesting to watch all the companies adjust their predictions for when people will be going back to work. So many companies now are saying, maybe you don't have to come back to work. Maybe you do. Didn't Microsoft actually say something? I thought what they offered was pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, they said just a week or two ago that people could work less than 50% of the time at home automatically. And if your manager approved more, you could work even more time at home. But up until late last week, they had a tentative date of January 2021 as the date people were going to start coming back to their offices en masse. Mm-hmm. And as of last week, they decided that date is now July 2021. Yeah. So There are people who work for Microsoft who already are working in Microsoft's offices voluntarily, and people who work in the data centers, they're there already. But this is more of the date when we think it'll be an all clear, everybody can start coming back. So that's July next year, which is a long way away.
Are they going to hit that, or was this going to move again?
I don't know. It depends on the vaccines. It depends on a lot of things, right?
I think I'll be honest, I think what it mostly depends on is how much they need people to come back.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some people can work at home. Say you don't have to.
Yeah, if they can work at home, there's not a lot of urgency to take a chance with bringing them back.
Right.
It depends on your business, though, and
very much.
And within a company like Microsoft, the specific parts of the company, some of them will need to be
around
each other.
It's just like here, our engineers have to be here because somebody's got to push the buttons. But most of our staff is home. I have to say, they're champing at the bit to get back into the office.
A lot of people are.
Nobody, everybody wants to come back to work. They miss the
especially
social.
If your kids are home.
Yeah. But I think they also miss the camaraderie of Workspace.
Of course. Yep. Yeah, you don't think you'll miss your coworkers until they're not around anymore.
I hate them, but they're all I got.
Plus, as I've brought up a few times, Microsoft's, they're in the middle of this giant campus redo, right? Like they're spending billions of dollars to redo the corporate headquarters in Redmond. They're not going to just say, you know what, guys, forget it. You don't have to come back.
We just bought all of Redmond. Could you please come back?
We own Redmond now, and you don't have to come in. Okay.
Right.
That's really weird to see in Petaluma. So many of the restaurants that are closed are using their stimulus funds to renovate.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of renovation going on.
Yeah, and again, that's I don't mean to say it's uniquely American, but this is we're hopeful for the future.
We're bullish.
Today,
we're positive. Yeah, and we should be. We should be. Yeah. It'll be over eventually. But I don't think that anyone can predict. In fact, I don't think there's any hard date when it'll be safe now. There's not going to be a magic moment where it's safe now.
I know.
Plus, not safe everywhere, right? Like everywhere in the world is on a different schedule.
Yeah.
Every state is on a different schedule.
Yeah, every city. I know.
Yep.
So, you look at San Francisco, they did an amazing job. Their death rate is like 1/10 of what, say, New York's or other areas in the country were, because they were able to do this early on, social distancing and so forth, and masks. So I think there are ways that an office could get back, you'd probably have to reduce the density. I don't know if there's going to be a moment, though, where you go, okay, everybody's vaccinated, everybody work.
I know.
It's not going to happen that way.
I think it's going to be more like we look back one day and we're like, oh,
it changed.
We're kind of back, aren't we?
Yeah.
We've reached this new place.
Inch by inch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I guess, a big company like Microsoft has to set a date. I mean, I'm not setting a date. I'm not saying to our employees, oh, good news, you're going to be back in March. No, we don't know.
Yeah. No, they're trying to give planning, like people some kind of tools for planning.
Yeah, they're a big company. They have to. Yeah.
Yeah.
We could just keep our employees hanging in the wind. They're just twisting.
That's right. That's what you get.
Let's do a Microsoft 365 segment.
Okay.
Yeah, what do we got?
I'm just going to say right now,
Yep.
20H2, no problems at all.
Nice.
I can't tell anything different.
Yep. That it's working.
I'll be honest, even from 1909, I don't see a lot of differences.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see the start menu? It's awesome now, Leo.
I don't understand what's different.
Is there a border that's missing on some
subtle.
app
Yeah, there's a
names?
border that's missing. It's very subtle.
Yeah.
I don't notice that kind of stuff. But I haven't had any problems either. So that's the good news.
That's good. Good to hear.
I have been bitten so many times by saying that I think this version is going to go fine. I'm not going to say that.
So I just did that.
I will say, actually, we should mention this because we probably talked about this last week, this notion of their slowly rolling it out. And I sort of assumed, like an idiot, because why would anything logical ever happen, that if you were on 2004, you would just seek and you would get 20H2. I now know that is not the case. In fact, that this random blocking is truly random, and that Doesn't matter if you're in 1903, 1909, or 2004, you may not even be offered it. And that's just the the way the cookie crumbles for now. They're taking it slow. Okay, fine. But it came out, a week ago, 10 days ago, something like that. It's AdDuplex did their latest monthly survey. It's actually already on 1.7% of Windows 10 PCs out in the world. I mean, that's not bad for 6 days or whatever it was at that time when they did the survey. But the interesting switchover this month was that Windows 10 version 2004 became the #1 most used version of Windows 10 with 38% of all the Windows 10 PCs out in the world. This is obviously like publicly available computers. And then I think let's see, I have this somewhere. So where is it? 1909 is in second place with 32.4%, and then 1903 with 22, and that one's going down pretty quick. So
that's actually good.
Yeah,
I think that's good.
That is good.
Right?
And 1909 is again like a fake feature update. It's the a cumulative update over 1903, as is 20H2 to 2004.
So Corey in the chat room says it's the placebo update.
Yeah, pretty much.
So remember that piece of junk that we put out 6 months ago? This is a better version of that. Yeah, so it's been
glad I
tested
skipped
for 6 months.
2004. It worked out fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not seeking the 20H2 update. I'm just going to see what happens.
Yeah.
On this computer, I looked on day one and got it. I was kind of surprised by that, but yeah.
Yeah, I think technically I was a seeker because I was updating it. So
Don't be a
it's hard not to
seeker.
seek. It's hard not to seek.
Let
No,
other
guys,
people.
it's not hard.
It's the easiest thing to do is to do nothing at all.
I don't know if that's true.
No, 2004, I learned my lesson. I dumbly saw it.
Yeah. We were talking yesterday on Security Now. Apparently, there's a feature in Policy Edit that lets you say, force that update, even though you're just clear those blockers out.
I know.
Wow.
So they have
Who would do that?
a way now to opt out of what they call safeguard holds for features updates if you're an IT admin. So they actually have documentation that's available to the public that shows you how to disable safeguards for feature updates, which means even if something's wrong, you can force it onto your PC.
But at least it tells you why it's blocked now, right?
Yeah. So they're starting to tell you more information within update compliance about why things are blocked. So they're basically taking the information that's on the release information page and integrating that with update compliance so that instead of just seeing, I know in my company 50 machines are blocked, you can see why the 50 are blocked.
Good.
That's good.
It's good.
No, they're doing the right things.
See that. That should be in Windows Update. I on some other PC, I got that message. Hey, there's a big new version of Windows coming, 2004, literally, and you can't have it. Okay. Maybe you
they're
can tell
trying
me
to
why.
get there. They're trying to get
I'd
there
like to
so
see
that, not just for admins, but for everyone. It'll be more granular information about, okay, we've got you in the holding pen, and here's why you're in the holding pen, right?
Right.
And then if you want to override it, you do so at your own risk and decide, okay, I'm going to live on the edge.
Yeah.
Is
this the dashboard? What is this?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the update compliance. Somebody told me it's the old version of the dashboard, but that was the picture Microsoft provided. So I don't know why they gave us that picture.
But you couldn't do this at home. You need to be. It's more than just having policy.
It's for admins,
Yeah.
right? It's group policy and admins. This isn't for I'm at home and I just feel bored and I want to override my update.
I don't believe Microsoft.
I'm going to pick
let
a
me
policy at random and just see what happens.
It's fake news. I'm going to update right now.
Right?
What's the opposite
it's not
of best practices? Because that's what that is.
Suboptimal practices.
Yeah.
Do not recommend.
I'm being deliberately chaotic.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, I think I'll update it. What the hell? What could possibly, as Steve says, what could possibly go wrong? Edge has turned the world upside down, or at least
it's getting there.
90 degrees sideways.
Okay, have either of you guys tried this? Because it's now in the dev channel. We're talking about vertical tabs. I'm super excited about this feature for Edge. but not excited enough to be a tester.
Yeah, to go to dev. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I'll
but
wait.
it's getting closer.
Yeah.
Me too. But I think I'm going to like this because if you looked at my browser right now, I've got like 30 tabs open along.
So if you had them on the side, though, wouldn't it just it'd eat a whole column up of your...
Yeah, it would need a column, but there's a whole ton of white space over there anyway.
Yeah.
So why
Yeah,
not?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The theory here is we have these wide screens anyway, so
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, better on the side
this
than
is
on the
something
top.
Opera's had forever, and I just don't like the look of it.
You know?
Yeah.
It's so much easier to see what's in your tabs, though, instead of having to hover over it and then see it.
I should have written this up by now, but can I bring up an issue that's semi-related to this? Remember last week we talked about how 20H2 by default puts I forgot the number, the 5 most recent tabs, I think, from Edge into your Alt plus Tab interface, right? Remember we talked about that?
Yep.
And I really don't like this feature. Really don't like it. I just don't like it. That's fine because you can turn it off if you want. You can make it worse if you want. You can do whatever you want. That's good. That's the right way to handle something like that. That's fine. Yeah. But I've experienced this now on 2 different computers, and I don't know if it's specifically related to me turning off that feature completely, but I believe that it is. And what what the problem is that it completely breaks Alt plus Tab. And what does that mean? So if I have, let's say I have like 8 windows open, I don't really, but whatever. But if I Alt Tab once, I go to Skype. If I Alt Tab again, I go to OneNote. Alt Tab once, I go to Skype. I Alt Tab again, I go to OneNote. I should be able to do that for the rest of my life, and those are the 2 apps. Like no other app should jump into the middle. But a third app does jump into the middle. If you do that enough times, not like in a row like I was doing, but just in the course of work, it actually screws up we'll call it the Alt Tab order, hierarchy. What's the word? I don't know. Like it's like a stack.
Yeah.
It actually screws it up. So it adds a third. It's not a random third. It's literally whatever would be the third one gets to be number 2 sometimes, and it makes me insane. My wife came in. I think it was this morning actually, and she's like, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm like, it's a hard thing to describe. Yeah. You'll think it's you at first. I always do. And then eventually I realized, no, it's Windows, and it's 20H2, and it's after I turn off that default behavior with Alt Tab.
So
there's something wrong with it.
Yeah, so it doesn't come up as 2004 because you don't have that new behavior in anything until 20H2.
Never experienced it in 2004. Yeah, I assume it's related to this Alt Tab thing. I think because they screwed with Alt Tab, they broke something, and it only shows itself, I believe, I have only seen it when you turn off the new default behavior in 20H2, which I hate.
Why don't you use Task View button on the taskbar?
Because I use the keyboard as much as possible.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay.
I don't do like Windows key plus tab. I don't know if it happens that way as well. I guess I could try. No, I don't like the way that works.
You know me. I don't use almost any shortcuts. Like I don't even know them. I know Control C, Control V, and that's literally the only shortcut I use. No, and the Windows key plus the period.
I have a book to sell you, Mary Jo. That
I know, but why? I don't want to learn more things and clutter my brain with more things. I don't need it.
Look, I'm not trying to replace a childhood memory, but there are things that you could become a little more efficient at.
No. Once I'm in Notepad, I'm all set.
All right, fine.
All right, fine. What more are you going to say? All right, fine.
Anywho, I expect the thing I just described to become a thing. It's going to be a problem because it can't just be me. I've seen it on 2 different computers.
Maybe you should go to Feedback Hub and file some feedback. Paul?
Maybe I'll go to ubuntu.com and I'll solve this problem for once and for all. I don't know.
Sure, you will.
I love hearing that. Keep talking sexy, big boy.
Come on.
All right, let's take
I just went nuclear.
It's the nuclear option.
A little UI bug. Maybe we'll just wait till they fix it.
I see that Paul got something for his birthday. We're going to get to that in just a second. We'll also talk about Touchpad and Apple and Google, believe it or not. But before we do that, I do want to mention our fine sponsor of the hour, our good friends at Thinkst, THINKST. They make the Canary. It's this. I've got one right here. It's this little box. But that little box, man, that packs some power. That is a honeypot. A honeypot that looks not vulnerable to hackers, but valuable. If they're on your network, you want to know they're on their network. But that's the problem. Data breaches, they're on the rise, and companies don't find out till it's too late that they've been compromised. Sometimes even after they spend millions on IT security. The Thinkst Canary was designed to be installed, configured, and, as with mine, most likely forgotten in minutes. But if you do need to be alerted, Canary gives you the option of deciding how you're going to be told. Email or text message on a console. You get that with the Canary. You can get Slacked. There's webhooks. You can get Teamed, I'm sure, Syslog or their API. And the alerts are great. They're dead simple. You don't get overwhelmed with hundreds of It's either easy to work with, they conform to your needs, not the other way around, and Thinkst Canary has made that possible. One alert when it matters with actions you can take right away. Two things you need to know when it comes to data breaches. Hackers are going to get in through your staff. We've talked about it before. And they're going to get into your system, but this is something important. I think people assume, as soon as they're in, we'll know because we'll get ransomware or something. No. Even with ransomware, they take their time. On average, 191 days. That's 6 months for a company to notice there's been a data breach. They take their time. They look around. They figure out what to encrypt. They exfiltrate data so that if you don't pay them the ransom, they can blackmail you with that. They are smart. But you can be smarter if you've got a Thinkst Canary. It looks just like, well, whatever you want it to look like. There's a configuration page. You can choose from a router, a switch. Mine's set up as a Synology NAS, but you could set it up as a Windows server, any flavor you want of Windows, a Linux box, and it's completely indistinguishable. They even have MAC addresses that go with the right hardware. So hackers can't look at it and say, oh, I know that's a Canary. No, they have no idea. And when they try to log in, you're going to get an alert. And you're going to even see the way they tried to log in, which sometimes is informational. It tells you what they already know, for instance. You could put fake files on them. You can enroll them in Active Directory. Canary lets you make Canary tokens, which you could distribute around your network. They look like PDFs, Word documents, whatever kind of file format you want. I have a number of Excel spreadsheets spread all over saying things like payroll information. I'm trying to be coy. I don't want to say Social Security numbers in here, hackers. But I say payroll information or employee list, that kind of thing. Knowing that the minute a hacker who's browsing around my network sees that, there's no way they're not going to open that up. And the minute they do, I get a notification. Thinkst, the company behind the Canary, has been in the security game for 20 years. They've trained companies, militaries, and governments on how to break into networks. They know, and they use that knowledge to build the Canary. They're deployed all over the world on all 7 continents. Yes, Antarctica too. That tells you something. They're one of the best tools for data breaches. Some small companies might have just a few scattered around. Big banks might have hundreds all over the place. Let me give you an idea of how much it's going to cost. If you go to Canary, CANARY.tools/twit, the rack rate's $7,500 a year for 5 Canaries. Less for fewer, more for more, obviously. You get your own hosted console. You get upgrades. You get support. You get maintenance. If anything goes wrong, if I sit on this, they'll send me another one right away, no charge. But I'm going to give you a deal. If you use the offer code TWIT in the How Did You Hear About Us box, take off 10% and take that off for life. As long as you have a Canary, it'll be 10% less. We know you're going to love your Thinkst Canary. In fact, everybody does. All you have to go to the website canary.tools/love to see all the tweets from some of the most best-known names in security for people who just think this is the thing to have. These honeypots work great. And we know you're going to love it, but for any reason you don't, you can return your Canaries with a 2-month money-back guarantee for a full refund. That's how confident they are. Canary, CANARY.tools/twit. This is the must-have security device. Security, as you know, it's a layered approach. No one thing is perfect. It's going to solve all your problems. But if you have these Canaries scattered around, at least if somebody gets in, you'll know it. There will not be a surprise, and you can do something about it right away. Canary.tools/twit. Don't forget to use twit in the How Did You Hear About Us box. 10% off for life. Canary.tools/twit. Twit. All right, let's see. We're going to continue on. Paul Thurrott, Mary Jo Foley. We've been doing our Microsoft 365 thing. I have been, I have the iPad Pro. I love it, the big one, 12.9. And I have the Magic, what Apple calls a Magic Keyboard, which is a trackpad. And it really is, it's almost a laptop with iOS on it. And I think Microsoft did a nice job with their Touch First Office. But now they're adding the feature that I've been waiting for, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Apple, I don't remember the name of the release, but back in March, there was an iOS 13 point something release that added trackpad and mouse support to the iPad OS. And even Apple was actually kind of slow getting some of their apps fully supported. But finally, this week, Microsoft announced that they're bringing this support to their core Office apps, which
I actually want to try
Excel
using this now, because I think that'll make Word be like now that iOS is now really... iPad OS is a laptop OS, really. If you can use Word on it with a mouse.
Hey, a couple of months from now, you'll be able to use this version on a Mac,
right?
And it might even be great there. Better.
I wonder if that has something to do with the timetable for Microsoft. They'd like to get that out before the because as in case people don't know, because they're listening to a Windows show. When Apple comes out with its own Apple Silicon on the Macs, it will be able to run iOS apps native.
Don't let the name fool you. They cover all of Microsoft, really. Anyway, you may be. Unfortunately, you can't just update the app and get it. It's rolling out over time, so it could be even a couple of weeks before you see it. But it's available and it's coming.
The minute I get it, I'll bring my iPad in and I can show you.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
I wish it had happened sooner.
Speaking of Apple, were we speaking of Apple? Speaking of Apple, a little trouble in paradise. We know that Apple makes a lot of money. Google. In fact, there was a great picture of Sundar Pichai and Tim Cook at a restaurant in Palo Alto negotiating this deal.
Was one of them like passing an envelope full of money over to the other one?
I'm going to write a number on a piece of paper.
And I'm going to add a 0 to the end, and then we're going to shake hands, and we're going to walk out of here.
I mean, both sides need it. Like, it's very good for Google. It's one of the things they got in trouble for with the DOJ. They say Google pays, shocking, Google pays people like Apple a lot of money to be the default search on their platform.
Yep.
It's estimated somewhere between $7 and $12 billion a year.
Well, but the bigger point is the percentage of search traffic that they get on or I think it might be overall, like from iOS, is astronomical.
Oh, yeah. It's more than 80%.
If this disappeared, Google would be in serious trouble.
Or not. Maybe that's how they get the DOJ off their back.
Well, yeah. There's different kinds of trouble.
There are different kinds of trouble, huh?
Yeah. So Apple, this is from the Financial Times, and I got to say, they literally do not cite a single source that says we have insider information that this is happening. They're basing this on some evidence and some on. Well, Apple did 2 years ago hire a guy that used to work on Google search. They did buy some companies. They did
and Siri has been slowly getting more away from Google and looking at other sources and things like that.
But the reason I mention this is not because I care about what search is like on an iPhone, because I don't. It's because the natural reaction of anyone listening to this podcast, hearing the story, is to say, oh, this is an opportunity for Microsoft and Bing, except that it isn't. You got to remember that because Apple was not very happy with Google, some number of years ago, they made Bing the default for search, both in Safari and also as a source for Siri. And the experience was so bad that they actually went back they added Google back in as a source for these searches. Yeah. So Apple is doing what Apple frankly does a lot, apparently. This is, again, according to this report, which is maybe looking at doing their own homegrown search. And whether that's literally for on-device searches that you'll do like on an iPhone or iPad, or whether they might have a general Apple search engine, which would be crazy, is unclear. But I just say, search is really hard to get right. And Microsoft, you can make the argument, they're one of the companies that could do this well and don't seem to do it very well. Apple has enormous resources. They did transition to Apple Maps. They've turned it into a pretty successful product. I still Don't think it's as good as Google Maps overall, but it's not the laughing stock it was whenever they first introduced it 8 years ago, whatever it was. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I guess I think don't expect Microsoft to run away with this, I guess is what I'm really here to say.
I also don't think, I think it sounds like, people who think Apple's got a lot of money so they can just do search. Saying that is like saying Oracle can just become a big cloud vendor like Microsoft and Amazon. But I feel like if you're not already huge in search, the bar to entry is so high. Right.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So it's like day one, we're going to do a search engine. It's like,
right.
What do we do? We're going to write this in like Lisp or what are we thinking?
We're going to start indexing sites from scratch. Right. Yeah. I'm like, oh man, I don't know. I agree that Bing, my experience with Bing, especially on mobile, is it's not as good as Google. But if I'm Apple, I'm possibly thinking about piggybacking on them somehow instead of building it myself completely.
Yeah, I think, right. So,
or you buy a search engine company, maybe.
So the thing we talk a lot about this on shows like the upcoming This Week in Google, and I think the consensus is it would be foolish to just try to make a new Google.
Yeah, right.
Like that search as it used to be, but there are things Apple can do. In fact, there's evidence that Apple's already starting to do this. That is not just creating an index of websites,
Right.
And that's all Bing really does. It's all Google does. There's other informational sources that Apple could pull on that could make something more than just, you type in a query and you get the pages, the web pages that go with that. I think Google's going to own that space. I think it's going to be hard to beat them in that space.
Yeah, the question is whether they become the Intel of that space, right?
Yeah.
If the world moves in this different direction, and we'll see.
And we know Google was very worried when Facebook started because they were building this social graph. Google was very worried that Facebook could eclipse them because social search might be more important than web page search. And Google, that's why Google created Google Plus, and they actually bonused everybody at Google based on the success of Google Plus, and it became a big push until it didn't, which is very typical.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not like an iPhone person, so I'm trying to understand the use case here. Like on an iPhone, you can swipe over from the leftmost home screen, and there's this, I don't know what you call it, Today or something, and there's a search box at the top, so you can search for stuff.
Yeah, but that's
search. Like it comes up with like Siri results, and news results.
Yeah.
And music results and related. Then you can search in apps.
You're talking about this. If I swipe over to the left, search. Yeah,
right at the top. Yeah, there's a search box. So
what Apple really is looking more at, frankly, is voice and Siri. And in fact, you could see the first thing you see in search is Siri suggestions. I think. And by the way, there's a microphone. There's a microphone. They clearly think, especially on mobile, that you're not going to be typing in search queries. It's more like you're going to be saying, when is Paul Thurrott's birthday? Oh, look at that. Well, it's tomorrow. So,
also, by the way, today is Bill Gates' birthday.
You see? There you go. Yeah. And if you say, who's Bill Gates? It's not going to pull up a Google search. So you notice that? It says Siri knowledge.
Yeah.
And
the Siri,
that's from Wikipedia.
The Siri knowledge is derived from, in part, Google and Bing and probably other stuff. I'm sure that's like a Wikipedia entry.
This is
or
a
something.
Wikipedia entry, yeah.
Yeah.
But see, that's the idea is you don't, and Google's been saying this for a long time. This is what got them in trouble. You're not just looking for web pages. You're looking for information. And increasingly on a Google search, they don't show you web links. They show you the answer, which pisses people off.
Google got off to a slow start on mobile because of that.
Yeah.
Their whole search results thing was kind of tied to the way search works on a PC, on the web.
Right. So I think Google and Apple have a future for a long time, but I think Apple would like to have other sources and really make it more than just a web page search.
Sears has a future. Kmart has a future. Burger King.
I mean, it sounds it sounds like Apple's doing what Microsoft's doing, right? Like there's Bing for web search, but then there's this thing called Microsoft Search, which searches your documents and your emails and all
and
that.
When you're using that, you don't care what's happening in the back or whatever. You're doing something kind of specific.
Yeah, Google's always said that. This is, people aren't searching for web pages; they're searching for information, and we just want to give them the information that they're looking for. That makes them happy. Which makes Rupert Murdoch unhappy, but who cares? Who cares, really? All right, Paul, you got a little gift for your birthday, I think.
It's true, I did.
I'm so jealous. You don't
unbeknownst to you, but beknownst to me.
Yeah,
I've been sitting on a couple of Xboxes.
Oh,
which you can see.
I see it behind you. I thought it was just a dummy, a replica, a fake.
No, those are real. The dummies here. The problem is I can't really discuss any of it yet, except for the unboxing bit. And so, there's this kind of a schedule for when we can reveal things. I don't think I can reveal the schedule other than to say that today Microsoft is allowing reviewers to show the unboxing experience. So I did
When does it come out?
November 8th or 11th. I should know that, but now I don't care because I already have one.
Yeah, but it's like it's a little more than a week off. Yeah. Look, yours has a ding on the corner.
The 10. This is the box. Yeah, November 10th.
November 10th. Okay. And it says "Power Your Dreams." Wow.
Yeah. So the funny thing, not funny, but what's weird about this in both cases, the Xbox One S is tiny. The Xbox One X is not humongous. It's just normal size, I guess. It's kind of a
Series
unique
X
shape
right here, right?
But there's really not much going on in the box. Like the console's there. There's a cable to power, the power cable. There's no brick. There's a nice HDMI cable as a controller and batteries for the controller, and that's pretty much it. There's not much else going on.
Well, there's much to it. That's the whole point of a console. You plug it in and it goes.
That's right.
Do they give you an Ethernet?
I see, Leo. I don't know if that's true because I can only talk about the unboxing.
You can't actually. You can't plug it in, or you can't say that you've plugged it in.
Exactly.
Okay.
I think you can.
I can read between the lines. Yes. Yeah. That's good though. Now I presume you're not going to get to keep this one, so you're still in the market to buy one. I presume, but.
Yeah, I don't know. If they ask for it back, they can have it back.
They better beg. They better beg. Because all my Call of Duty saved games are on here. Cold War, here I come. There's the on-off switch. There's
this is just like the Duo, right? You can show it, but you can't show it on.
You can't say anything. Yeah,
that's exactly. Yeah, they learned from those guys. That's the button you use to connect to controller.
The pairing. Button.
Although, by the way, the controllers. I actually, who can say?
Almost came so close, and he didn't blow it, ladies and gentlemen. He's holding his tongue. That's good. Here's pictures of the back. Storage expansion.
Yep.
Yeah, there's an Ethernet port, a couple of USB, I'm going to presume 3.1 ports. And there's also a USB port right beneath the pairing switch. Right.
It's very similar to the Xbox One X, by the way. Yeah. So the same thing. They had that button and a USB port in the front, for convenience sake, if you want to plug in the control. So
you could plug in up to 4, 5 controllers, something like that. I like how it looks, actually. I think I like the design.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's handsome.
You're showing it. Is that showing it next to a PlayStation? What is that?
No, that's the Xbox One X.
Oh, that's the One X. Oh, okay. But I'm not going to get well, maybe I will get the One X. I don't know. I'll get whatever I can get. I have a One X. So it is bigger, probably for cooling, although Paul will never tell.
I'm sure it's for cooling.
Yeah. It's got a nice big tower.
Reasonable.
Yeah.
The funny thing about the top of it is it's kind of curved, and if you looked at it the wrong way, you might think like it warped or something. But that's the design.
That's to make it comfortable for cats.
Yes, exactly.
Just fits a cat butt perfectly.
Yep.
Okay, there's the unboxing. Wow, that was exciting. And you unboxed that, of course, on First Ring Daily.
Yes, we did. Yeah. So the S is considerably smaller than the X. And it has a white controller, so it's completely different.
Okay.
Sounds very different.
Yeah.
It's very different. I would say the Xbox Series S is what I will call Mary Jo Foley apartment sized.
Yeah.
And would look very natural.
I want the big one. I want all the. Yeah. But unlike Sony, which made the little one low powered, the capabilities of the little one Xbox are the same, right?
The capabilities of the little one are different. No, they're different. So the Xbox Series X is not guaranteed, but we'll just call it guaranteed for 4K 60 frames a second.
Okay.
And the Series S is 1440p 60 frames a second.
Okay, so there is a difference.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I want the 4K.
The S is cute. Just saying. It's a cute little guy.
I wonder
I owned a Dell laptop that was bigger than this thing. I mean, it's not very big.
For a while, I was every morning refreshing all the pages and seeing if there was any in stock, but I tired of that.
There'll be more. They'll make more.
Yeah, I guess they will.
They will.
Okay.
When can you post reviews of those?
You can't say.
I don't know that I can say.
You can't say.
Oh, you can't even say the date? No.
I don't know. I don't want to violate it. I don't know. So what I'll say is it will be soon, but not this week.
Okay.
So it's the Sony that's the same without an optical disc.
That's right. They're the same
I
size
confused
and shape,
those.
basically. Yeah, that's right.
The Sony
and
is
they're the same. That's right.
It's the Xbox Series X that you want probably if you want all the power. Okay. I was confusing those two.
I just got a text message. Apparently, there's some kind of an election happening soon.
You want to change the subject? Is that what you're up to? I should have showed this on yesterday on iOS Today, but there's a way, at least on the iPhone, to say, if I don't know that person, put their messages in a separate
I need that because place.
Yeah,
you can choose from.
It's going to be a problem.
I put it in unknown senders, so.
Right.
Yeah, and you can see.
My neighbors would go in there too, which I would like, so that'd be good.
Yeah, but unknown senders, oh my God, we need money. We're running out of money. We're going to win any day now. It's going to happen. Whoa. So I just decided I'll let those people have their own little place.
I get spam text on iOS that I never got on Android, like for skincare products, and I got one today for an instant heater. I've never heard of. I didn't even know there was spam on text messages, but apparently iOS lets it all through.
Oh, yes. Well, it's not iOS, it's your carrier.
Okay. But I never got them on Android.
Same carrier.
Yep. If you want the latest on an Insta heater that will keep you warm this winter, just let me know.
So, Paul, go to messages. Go to your messages settings.
Yep.
And it's in settings, messages, scroll down, and filter unknown senders. Turn that on.
Do this.
Sort messages from people who are not in your contacts.
It's entertaining in some ways.
Yeah, but it just clogs up the. Right now, it clogs up the.
Yeah, mostly it's been irritating. Yeah.
Is this like focused inbox?
Yeah, it is. It's like
kind of is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is a little bit, but you know what? I think
except it doesn't learn. It's based solely on what's in your contact list. Period. Either on the bus or not on the bus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Did I just give out my my phone number so everybody can send me?
Even more spam.
Even more spam. No, I don't think I did. I think I gave out spammer phone numbers. 50
phone numbers in my blocked contacts list.
Wow. You must get a lot of people saying mean things.
Leo, I live in a swing state. Do you know how terrible it is to live in Pennsylvania?
Oh, I forgot.
My vote matters.
Yeah, see, Mary Jo and my vote matter not at all.
Yeah.
Because we come from populous states.
I also get voter, what do you call it? Because I'm registered independent, they don't let me vote in the primaries.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Paul, maybe you ought to consider joining a side.
Maybe
stop pick a side, dude.
Up in the middle, you jerk.
Yeah,
maybe.
Here's a good image.
I'll look into that.
Somebody sent me.
Anywho, sorry. I started to interrupt this all, but nothing.
No. This is your show. You can't interrupt your own show.
You can ramble as much as you want.
You do whatever you want.
Let me bring it back to Xbox.
Oh, please. Mary Jo will be thrilled.
I can't wait.
I can't talk about the software experience, which I may or may not have experienced for the new Xbox consoles, but Microsoft has shown you a video of explaining exactly how it works. So it's not like the first launch experience, which I think people would like to see, but it's just what it's like to use the user interface in general. And I got to tell you, just to kind of ruin the surprise, it's exactly like Xbox One because it's literally exactly the same interface. But the difference is because there's all this kind of next-gen technology happening, smart delivery, quick resume, dynamic latency input, blah, 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 whatever that stuff is, all of it happens faster. So one of the big problems with the Xbox One, literally for the entire generation, has been like the speed of the UI has been terrible. Supposedly that's going to be fixed in the Xbox Series S and X, and so we'll see. But same UI. And by the way, depending on how you look at things, that could be a little weird. It's like, I just got a new console. I can't wait to see what's different. And you boot it up, you're like, it's exactly the same.
Yeah, Sony's changing their UI completely.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm not sure which approach I like better, actually.
I know. I would say off the top of my head, when you went from a PS3 to a PS4 is very, very similar. Right. You know, whatever they call that UI, cross-bar, cross-hatch, whatever it was. Very, very similar. And now it's gotten a visual update. I think it's nice. Microsoft has been visually updating the Xbox dashboard like for the duration. So this is the current gen. It's the one they're going forward with the new consoles. It is literally identical looking to the interface you have today. Yep.
It looks more like the old interface than Windows 20H2 looks like 2004.
Yes. That's right. Yeah. But like I said, it should be much faster. And that's a big deal.
That's a huge deal. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see, but that's the suppose.
And all of those dumb games you installed when you thought maybe they'd be fun, you don't have to worry about them anymore. So, yeah,
it's the nicest thing about getting a new device. You get to start. It's fresh. It's like going into the witness relocation program.
I'm so jealous. I am so jealous, but okay. I got a Nintendo Switch and I'm playing Animal Crossing, so I'm happy.
There you go. I don't know what that means, but obviously the new consoles are coming in less than 2 weeks, but Microsoft is busy padding out Xbox Game Pass with a bunch of new games, including, by the way, a bunch of remastered versions of LucasArts classics like Day of the Tentacle, Grim Fandango. Yeah, there's some good stuff in there. So that's happening over the next couple of weeks. PUBG is coming to, we're going to call it Android, but it's like cloud game streaming via Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. So it's like the Xbox version of PUBG, which is kind of cool. What else? This is kind of vague, but one thing that's kind of interesting about cloud streaming, which is that feature of Xbox Game Pass, is that obviously you're playing on a mobile device. So this could be a phone, but it could also be an Android tablet. And these games are just streaming remotely from an Xbox. So they're designed to be used with a controller. But what Microsoft is doing is working with game developers to add touch controls so you can just use controls right on the screen like you would with a real mobile game. So that's kind of cool. So the initial game that released with that support, I think it was Minecraft Dungeons was the first one and the only one. But then this week they added 10 more games, including some new ones like Tell Me Why, which is a brand new AAA title, Killer Instinct, which is kind of a classic that's been around for a long time, Super Lucky's Tale, it's been around for a long time. But what that means is you'll be able to play using touch controls right on the screen. And so in some cases, they actually have to modify the game to make this work. In some other cases, it's the game maker doesn't have to do anything. It just works. So I think we can expect to see more of this stuff over time. And wouldn't it be nice if you could do this on an iPad like a normal person? But someday.
This is the one where they're going to do it in the web browser, maybe early next year, somewhere like that.
Yeah. They'll get there.
Yeah.
One of the interesting aspects to the current gen consoles, meaning PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, is that when they launched, Microsoft was pushing the Xbox One as this kind of all enhanced, multimedia thing, and Sony was like, "Yeah, we play games." And the truth is, both of them have media apps and whatever. But for this gen, Sony, interestingly, is going down that little rabbit hole, and they're talking about all the media experiences are going to be on the new console, and they even showed off a cute little remote. It looks pretty good.
Oh, Microsoft has been down this road. That's why they don't want to do this again. That's what the original Xbox was.
Yeah, I mean, but the truth is, Xbox will, of course, run these apps too. Like, and they haven't shown off like a new media remote, but I mean, they probably have one. I mean, anywho, whatever. That's what, if you have a Sony, that's what the remote looks like. It's pretty good. It's fine. It's fine.
It's a remote.
Yeah. And then finally, and this is just kind of a related thing, Facebook this week announced a new game streaming service, which on the face of things sounds like, what?
Also
like, why?
Not on iOS.
Also not on iOS. Well, although they too will be going the web route, right? So a couple of interesting things out of this. One is it's free, right? So that means to me it's going to be ad supported. So it's the types of games you might play on Facebook.
Right.
Okay, no surprise there. Meaning the types of games you would play on mobile or whatever. Okay, that's cool. They also, you should read the, I don't think I've ever in my life recommended that anyone go and read like a Facebook blog post, but this one's really interesting because whoever this person, Jason Rubin, the guy from Facebook who was in charge of this part of the company, goes on and on and on about how we're not going to talk about our data centers and our capacity and blah, blah, blah. It's like, we're just doing games, and like, it's not a bad approach. Like, they're not trying to replace a console or a gaming PC. It's like, we just have simple free games that people normally play on mobile devices. Not on iOS yet, but I've seen an interview with this guy somewhere else. And then, of course, whatever he writes, he actually addresses the Apple thing pretty much head on. And he's like, look, we're trying to get these guys to change their ways. But for some reason, they've approached game streaming. This one thing is completely different from everything else. And we don't know why, but anyway, it's a very precious resource, as they say.
Sigh.
See, there you go. That didn't take too long.
No.
Like, when you go to the doctor and you're all stressed about getting a shot, and then they do it, and you're like, did you do it yet? And I'm like, it's done.
Yeah.
Just woke up from my nap.
And
Awesome.
Colin Neal has made an entire bowl of chili
Exactly.
while you were
I
talking.
think micro naps are very healthy, Mary Jo. It's good. Good for you.
Micro naps or cooking with Windows Weekly.
I like it. He tweeted this. I was an hour late due to the clock change, but cooking with Windows Weekly is my new thing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Colin. All right, we're going to stop here for a moment. Get ready. The back of the book's coming. No beer this week. It's Paul Thurrott's birthday cocktail. It's what he'll be drinking all night long. All night long. You're still doing the peanut butter whiskey, I noticed.
Yeah.
I have a problem.
With the Reese's cup?
He was dipping a Reese's peanut butter cup.
I did that for my brother-in-law, and I swear to God, I saw the picture, and I'm like, you know who would enjoy this? The internet.
Yeah.
Was it good, though, or is it terrible?
I don't think
I literally did not dip it in the thing. I just did it as a joke.
Yeah,
it looks good.
You put peanut butter in my peanut butter whiskey.
Exactly.
Right. It wasn't peanut buttery enough. Actually, it really is.
I don't know. I don't know. That stuff is dangerous. That's all I can say, folks. Our show today brought to you by something you, my friends, may remember me talking about for years. And little did I know, we've been using it ever since. Eset. Eset, for 30 years, Eset's been a global leader in cybersecurity. And I recommended it for so long for people who used Windows before, Security Essentials came out and all that. But little did I know, we have continued to use Eset here at Twit. And really, the reason that's an interesting thing is because Eset is so lightweight. It's so transparent and yet so effective. I just didn't know. Every time I see Russell, our managed service provider, the IT guy around here, every time I see him, I say, Russell, are we safe? Are we safe? Are we safe? I'm so worried about ransomware. And he says, don't worry. He pats me on the head, says, we're safe. It's going to be fine. Finally, he said, because we're running Eset. I said, what? Eset, my old buddies. Eset is the perfect fit for us. It has a multiple layers of protection built right in. It has a very light system footprint, so much so that we can run it on the editor's machines. We can run it on the business machines. We can run it on all of our Windows machines, and it doesn't slow them down. I mean, these are machines that performance is everything, and it doesn't slow them down. Eset's available on-prem or in the cloud. They're very flexible. You can do what we did, which is get it through your managed service provider. You can buy it directly if you want, or through the Eset reseller program. Russell likes it because he can check in no matter where he is. He's kind of itinerant. He has a lot of clients, including wineries and stuff, but he can check in wherever he is to the Eset Security Management Center to see all of our endpoints, not just the ones in the office. Most of them nowadays are off-site. They're work from home, and he can see them too. Actually, I'm really glad he's got Eset on all of those work-from-home machines. There's full reporting, automated security management for every operating system. You can access it wherever you have internet. That's why he likes it. I'll tell you why I like it. There's something new Eset's been doing they call it dynamic threat defense. It's another layer of security for Eset products like their endpoint and mail security. What it does is so clever. They use cloud-based sandboxing detection. And this is how, one of the problems with antiviruses is the bad guys are moving very, very fast, often faster than you can update the antivirus. But what they do is if they see something new, a new attachment, a new download, before they allow it through, they sandbox it in the cloud and execute it. It's sandboxed, so it's safe. It's in the cloud. It's not on your premises. It's in the cloud. They execute it. They analyze it. They look at what it's doing. And if it's malicious, they block it. They don't let you get it. It's not in your email attachment. It's amazing. And if it's not malicious, no problem. They let it through. This is how you can handle constant flow of 0 days, dynamic threat defense. It's really why we pay for Eset, honestly. It's things like that. You get what you pay for. We've been using Eset for years. Eset's trusted by thousands of state and local governments, top enterprises, and universities worldwide. If you are in an industry that has compliance requirements, Eset, of course, matches all your compliance requirements. PCI if you take credit cards, Lobe if you handle customer financial transactions, HIPAA for healthcare data. If you've got a remote workforce, check out Eset's remote workforce bundle. You'll get advanced ransomware and business data protection along with other bundles that Eset offers. They're there to protect your employees no matter where they are. I needn't say it, but I will. They get top reviews from independent testing labs, both for their minimal system impact and their extremely accurate detection. It's just a great fit for small or medium-sized businesses. It's what we use. It's how I can recommend it to you. Eset. They understand the security needs and concerns of small businesses, SMBs like us. Trust Eset to future-proof your business. You can get an interactive demo right now at try.eset.com/twit. There's a free trial there for you if you like. try.eset.com/twit. Eset. Get a free trial of Eset's award-winning endpoint protection you can see for yourself. Try.eset.com/twit. Thank you, Eset, for protecting me, even though I didn't know it all these years. Thank you for supporting Windows Weekly by giving it a try. Try.eset.com/twit. Now, my friends, we go to Paul Thurrott's tip of the week. What?
Yes. Why did I laugh? We are going to the tip of the week.
Why are you laughing?
Funny. I don't know.
You sounded Irish.
Oh, it's his tip of the week.
Oh, that's
tip of the week to you.
I do. There's a reason. I feel like every time you do an ad, it's like a countdown to you muting me because I laugh.
You do. I have to mute you sometimes.
I don't know what
Not
it
always.
is.
I left you up this time, but sometimes I hear
music.
sniggering in the back of the classroom. And since I can't throw a piece of chalk at you.
Attention. You should look at it.
No, you're
in a
cute.
positive way.
No, I don't mind. It's fine. It's fine.
Anyhow, this is an interesting timing thing on this for the tip, because about a week or 10 days ago or whatever, I was prepping some laptops to return them to, like, review laptops, return them to the PC makers. And, I
what do you say prepping, and what do? You wipe off the peanut butter whiskey stains? And,
yeah. And then I use reset this PC, and I do it where it wipes the data.
I do too.
All that stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So it takes a while, and it's fine. So you put them in a row. You kind of do each the same thing, whatever. Don't mind my dog barking.
Peanut butter whiskey shipments here. Yeah, it's exciting. A new case for you, Paul.
Some people have water delivered. I have peanut butter whiskey. So anyway, on one of these computers, inexplicably, and it was running Windows 10 version 2004, it when you kind of start the process, and then it says there was a problem resetting your PC. No changes were made. I'm like,
I've had that happen.
What? I'm thinking, all right, well, I'll put that one aside and I'll get to it. And I never did get to it. And then I saw Microsoft posted a workaround to this very issue because this is a problem in Windows 10 version 2004. And this is going to be impossible for me to say how to do this, that if you were listening to this, you could do it. Because what you have to do is run a command line that's for the deployment, image servicing, and management command line utility, which is DISM. So it requires some, it's a long string of text, but it's DISM/online/cleanup image/restore health. Do that, run it, whatever it does, reset the PC, reboot the PC, sorry. Then reset this PC again, and it should work. I have actually not done it on the PC in question, which is interesting because it's been several days now, but I do have to get this moving.
What do you think it does?
Well, I think based on what I see there, it tells me that there's something wrong with the restore image and that this cleans it.
Maybe, yeah.
It's like a corruption issue or something like that. So I assume what they're going to do is release a CU that will fix this for everybody. But in the meantime, if you have this problem, it's good to know about. So,
okay. That is very good to know about. Thank you.
Now, I don't have an app pick this week, but fortunately, Mary Jo does.
What?
I know, we're mixing it up.
My buttons aren't ready for that. Okay.
So the app pick of the week is Microsoft Forms. And if you're a business customer, you may have been using this already. Contrary to the name, Microsoft Forms is not an app about forms. It's an app for creating surveys and quizzes because they couldn't just call it surveys or quizzes. They had to call it forms. Now, as of October 22nd, Forms is available for personal use. So it wasn't available to consumers before now. So it's funny to see what they suggest you use Forms for as a consumer. You can create surveys for your friends to come up with a weekly running time, or maybe to coordinate holiday gatherings or host virtual trivia nights, or create your own learn from home plans. And then, of course, because it's Microsoft, you can take the results and export them into Excel to analyze your data. So the basic Forms app for consumers is free. Anybody can use it. But to use, quote, premium features, like if you want to add more respondents than are allowed in the free version or use certain templates, you're going to have a subscription to Microsoft 365 Personal or Family.
All right.
So yeah, if you're somebody who creates quizzes and surveys, I'm not, but I know there are people who are. You might want to check out
When's this feature
Forms.
coming to Notepad?
Yeah, exactly. Now we're talking.
Send me a Notepad document with your...
Yes, sir. This survey was generated by Windows Notepad.
So is Forms part of all the Office 365 packages? Or do you have to have a higher end?
No, I think it is part of all of Office 365.
Yeah.
Microsoft 365. Yeah.
So business, home, and
so
education.
if you go to a list of apps, and in their little icon, if you list your apps, you can see Forms. It's there.
Nice.
Yeah.
I typed Forms and I got create and format hard disk. No.
There you go.
No,
Just
not
enter.
that.
No, stop.
Just yes your way through the wizard. You'll be fine.
Not exactly that.
Yeah. I want to make a form to figure out where my family is. I formatted my hard drive.
Where's my data?
Where's my data? You said to put it in Excel. I don't have Excel. Enterprise pick of the week.
Enterprise Pick is a new free app from Microsoft called Lobe, Lobe. Microsoft historians may remember 2 years ago, Microsoft bought a company called Lobe. They are based in San Francisco, AI startup, all about deep learning models. So finally, Microsoft has started commercializing and productizing what Lobe does. And it's kind of cool what it is.
It looks like it's murder wasps. What is it?
Yeah. Oh, so this is a case study they did around it. Tool itself is more about training machine learning models simply. So if you hear people talk about training machine learning models, it's not for the faint of heart. No. But if you use Lobe, you can just kind of use it with drag and drop visual cues and train your app. They show a picture of training an app to recognize certain plants so that you you feed in like a number of correct things and a few incorrect so that it can start learning. And this is very interesting to me. They advertise one of the major advantages of using Lobe as you can actually do this locally on your Windows or your Mac PCs, and you don't have to use the cloud. So this is for people who are like, yeah, I don't really want to, put my private data in the cloud. I don't want to use the cloud. Okay, then use Lobe, and you can still train your machine learning models and store the data right on your PC locally.
Nice. And it's free.
It's free. For now, anyway, it's free. This is in preview, I should say. It's a public preview.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yep.
Very nice. Do you have a code name this week?
I do. This is a code name courtesy of Windows Central, which I verified is a code name. I'm having trouble totally backing what they say it is, but I'm trusting them because Zach Bowden, who unearthed this, has a good track record on code names. The code name is Sun Valley. And we've been talking about how Microsoft is getting ready for whatever follows Windows 10 20H2. We are not sure if there will be a feature update in 21H1 because of some weirdness around Windows 10X. But we do know there will be a feature update in 21H2, which is codenamed Cobalt, keeping in their theme of a periodic table of elements. Now, the Sun Valley thing looks like the codename just for the UI-specific refresh that is part of 20H2. And if Zach is right, Microsoft's planning a very big UI refresh for 21H2. They're going to redo the start menu, the action center, the taskbar, and some of the inbox apps in terms of visually changing a lot of things around to make them look nicer, feel more coherent. I heard this thing described as Windows 10 plus back in July. And I didn't know what the plus was. I'm like, what is that? Like them being cute, not calling it Windows 11? Or like, what are they doing? Right. But I think 10 is a reference to this Sun Valley thing he's heard about. And will there be a 21H1 feature update? We still don't know. Microsoft hasn't said. I keep hearing no, but then, they haven't announced there won't be, so maybe. But 21H2, contrary to the last two H2 apps, which were very small, like they were like cumulative updates, 20H2 and 1909. But if this tip is right, 21H2 is going to be a major Windows release, not a minor one.
Okay. So 21H1 will be minor?
We don't even know what 21H1 is going to be. I'm guessing if 21H2 is major, maybe it'll be minor. There's also 10X, right? So 10X is supposed to be out in the first half of next year. And so then there's the question: do they do 10X and a feature update to 10? We don't know. They haven't said.
But it's still Windows 10. We're not going.
We haven't heard them call it 11 or anything else.
They're never going to rename OS 10. Why would they rename Windows 10?
Exactly. There's 10X and there's 10.
Or something.
Paul's making a joke because it is in fact Mac OS 11 now.
Right.
Even though
maybe Microsoft will.
Maybe they will. Maybe that's a sign. A sign. We're going to replace our beer pick of the week this week for one time only because Stephanie Thurrott has concocted a craft cocktail. I presume it's for the birthday boy. I don't know.
Well, it's for the fall. So actually, I have a picture of this cocktail on my Instagram feed. It's
oh, good. I'll pull it up.
It's 2 pictures below the peanut butter picture. But yeah, so she was trying to come up with a good fall cocktail. The funny thing about this is she called it the Harvester, and we looked it up, and I guess there is a cocktail with that name. So she said, "What's another good name like that means harvester?" And I'm like, "Reaper." She's like, "Why don't we just keep it the Harvester?" And
you can call it the Great Pumpkin. No.
Yeah. There you go. That's actually pretty good. Well, there's no pumpkin in it.
There's no pumpkin in it.
The way you know it, well, so it's 4 parts whiskey. And in this one case, I would say probably shouldn't use peanut butter whiskey. But what makes it a fall cocktail, of course, is the 1.5 parts of apple cider, and 1.5 parts of cranberry juice, and then 1 part lemon juice and 1 part simple syrup. And she garnishes everything with a maraschino cherry. I should mention that our cherries are also steeped in moonshine, which gives it a little pop.
You do you do your own maraschino cherries.
Yeah,
that's nice. That's nice.
Yep.
They're better that way. They don't have that FDA 3 glow.
Well, yeah, they have a glow, but it's a moonshine glow.
Oh, and I didn't know Stephanie was writing for Medium.
Yeah,
she's written a piece on life lessons from making cocktails. I love that. All of her pieces begin with a number, which I thought was interesting.
She has really been trying to adapt to Medium, I think is how I would say it.
Yeah.
Because it's a certain way of selling.
There is a way. Yeah.
Articles or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it working?
Yeah, I think so.
That's nice.
It seems like it's going pretty good.
That's cool.
She's a great writer. She's got some interesting stuff in there.
I'm gonna follow her, so I will get notified. And let me go to Instagram.com/THURRO double good. See if I can find a picture.
The Harvester sounds like a Halloween cocktail, like a perfect one to drink while you're.
By the way, the one everybody wants to see.
There it is.
Yeah. Which is you dipping a peanut butter cup into peanut butter whiskey. But here is the Harvester. Oh, it's pretty.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty.
Yeah, it's got kind of like a fall leaf kind of color.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Looks good.
The apple cider probably makes it really kind of delicious, actually, I would think.
This cursor is a Mickey Mouse hand, by the way.
Very nice. Well, my friends, we've somehow made it to the end of this show once again. Could you put in that Instagram post your recipe? Because people.
Oh yeah, I could. I mean, yeah.
Would you do that?
Yep.
I need somewhere people can go to get that because we could put it in the show notes, but maybe that'll be more.
Yep. Right now.
Whiskey, apple cider, cranberry juice, lemon juice, and simple syrup. Sounds great. This is a problem with Stephanie's cocktails. I make them and then I go to bed at 6 o'clock.
Oh, how was the Curious Elixir? Did you try
Delicious.
it?
Yeah.
You liked it. Good.
Yeah. And I haven't added booze to them. I just put a little seltzer in there, and it's great.
Yeah, it was good, right?
I love them. And
they taste nice and bitter, right?
Yeah, they're not
like
sweet, but I don't want sweet.
No.
I shouldn't have sugar. So they're like 15 calories or nothing. And they're delicious. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really like them. So thank you.
Did you add vodka to any of them? I'm just curious.
Not yet. I could.
You could.
Totally could. I mean, they really are like mixers. They're kind of like Stephanie's cocktails because they're very, they have herbs and all sorts of interesting things going on in them.
Yeah.
They're quite good. Somebody's suggesting you call it the International Harvester.
Oh, that's pretty good. I like that, actually. Yeah. Actually, you could call it the National Harvester, which would be kind of a take on that term because it uses apple cider, and apples are kind of an American thing. That's my head.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
The name is in flux.
I smell a cookbook. I coming.
I told her she should make a
cocktail cookbook, maybe for the holidays.
Yeah.
She's quite the cocktail chef.
Yeah.
Thank you all for being here. We are going to end daylight saving time. I wish it were forever, but just for this year. This coming Sunday, the Candy Makers of America have ensured that, in fact, it comes after Halloween to give us that extra hour of trick-or-treating.
Maybe this will solve the pandemic. Maybe that's all we needed.
Maybe that's all we needed. Just a little falling back.
I don't know how viruses work. I got to be honest.
Because our clocks are going to change, it won't, unless you don't change. If you're in Arizona, for instance, it won't impact you. We're still going to be 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern time every Wednesday. However, it will no longer be 1800 UTC. It'll be 1700 UTC. And in Arizona, I don't know. You'll have to just figure it out for yourself. If you want to watch live, twit.tv/live has live audio and video streams. If you're doing that, watch or participate in the chat room at irc.twit.tv. Or if you're busy cooking, you can leave that out. You just tweet us. We also have on-demand versions of everything we do at our website, twit.tv. In this case, it's twit.tv/WW. There's also a YouTube channel dedicated to Windows Weekly. You could watch it there. Best thing to do, though, find your favorite podcast application and subscribe. That way you'll get it automatically the minute it's available of a Wednesday afternoon. You'll find Mary Jo Foley at her ZDNet blog, all about Microsoft.com. I didn't show any of your pages today because I don't know, maybe it's me, but the CSS isn't loading. So
Oh, no.
I'll show you what it looks like. It's kind of funny.
That's funny.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly.
Did you turn off JavaScript again?
I don't know what's going on.
It's working for me. Why?
Yeah, well, I'm in Firefox, but when I go to your pages, it looks like this.
Oh, that's
weird.
awesome.
It's a very big ZDNet.
Oh.
It's the
And
web
a very big
1998.
very big magnifying
strange.
Well, it is
glass.
all about Microsoft. I mean, maybe.
Maybe it's time to use Credge. I'm just saying.
Might be Credge only, no Firefox. And then there's some silhouettes.
Is there a works well in Firefox button
And then
somewhere?
there's your article right there. See?
Yeah, that's very strange.
Giant, sure, icons.
It looks okay in Credge. I just rechecked. Looks okay.
Yeah, you know what? I bet you this is their revenge for me having an ad blocker on. So let's try it without the ad blocker.
That shouldn't matter.
No, didn't fix it. No.
No. That's weird. Well, I'll tell them something could be wrong with Firefox on our page.
Yeah, this is typical of when the CSS isn't loaded.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't know how to style it.
Yeah, because it's just laid out plain text.
Yeah,
It's weird.
All the content's there, but no styling. But if you want to see more about all the things she writes about, allaboutmicrosoft.com is the place to go.
Just don't use Firefox.
Just don't use Firefox. I should try
Mary
to.
Jo hates Firefox. It's another thing.
It's a thing. She's a thing. Paul Thurrott is at thurrott.com, THURROTT.com. His books, The Field Guide for Windows 10, is available right now at leanpub.com. Always updated, so he's hard at work getting 20H2 in there. He's probably all in there by now, right, Paul?
Yeah, it's not that hard. but
He's busy playing Call of Duty, Cold War. That's what he's really doing. We know. In glorious 60 frames, 4K, Dolby
I can't
Vision.
say that that's what I'm doing, but I can say that the new controller is really nice.
Oh. When we first called Paul, there was quite a ruckus going on in the background.
It was.
And it turned out it was the AK-47s, I guess. I don't know.
It was the
I thought it was a mechanical keyboard. I was like, what are you doing?
He said, let me stop my game.
I didn't know what you were referring to. I thought it was like some kind of traffic problem at Mary Jo's.
It sounded like a cement mixer, to be honest with you. It was clanking around. It was loud. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We'll see you next time. Have a great week on Windows Weekly. It'll be the post-election hangover edition next week.
I'm Jason Howell, host of Hands on Android, where each week I take a look at the Android operating system and really dive deep into what it can do for you and how it can improve your quality of life, whether it be tips and tricks on how to use it better, whether it can be little known secrets that open up a world of possibilities. So many topics to dive into, including your emails. Subscribe by going to twit.tv/HOA. We'll see you there.